Good morning, everyone. We'll get started. Fellow Commissioners, Chief McDonnell, Inspector General Matthew Barragan, Managing Senior Assistant City Attorney Carlos de la Guerra, Madam Secretary, and members of the public. Today is Tuesday, April 28th, 2026. It is 9:30 a.m. This is a regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Please let the record reflect that Commissioners Shields, Garcia, Scobin, Sanchez-Gordon are present, and we have a quorum. Madam President.
Thank you. We welcome everyone attending this morning, both in person and online. We want to ensure all members of the public can access our meetings, so if you need any translation services or accommodations, we encourage you to contact the Board Secretary in advance of our meetings, as explained in our written agenda. These meetings are regular meetings between the board and the department. We welcome feedback from the public during the public comment period, which will be heard during item number 3 on today's agenda. Public comment is your opportunity to address the board. You can speak on any item on the agenda or any matter within the jurisdiction of the Board of Police Commissioners. We will dedicate a total of 45 minutes to public comment. Each member of the public can have up to 3 minutes to speak if you wish to speak on both agenda items and general public comment, as explained in the written agenda. While we welcome public attendance at our meetings, disruptive behavior will not be tolerated and will be cause for removal. You will receive just one warning, and if you continue disrupting the meeting, you will be asked to leave and be removed from the meeting. So moving on to item number 1, the President's remarks. I'll just start off today by first wanting to recognize and thank Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon for serving as President of the Commission and for leading with integrity, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to the people of Los Angeles. And I thank you for your continued commitment to serving on the Commission and working with you. Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon, do you have any, would you like to make any remarks?
Yes. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Madam President, for your kind words. As you know, our oversight work on the Commission is not only of great importance to the department and the city, but also requires significant dedication and commitment. I want to thank each of my fellow commissioners for their support and their readiness to serve on important subcommittees relevant to issues impacting the city. I thank the Mayor, Mayor Bass, for the incredible opportunity to help lead the LAPD with such a superb team during very challenging times. I look forward to working with Chief McDonnell and his team on current and future challenges our city face. I wish President Shields and Vice President Tabor much success. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon, I really look forward to working closely with you on a number of important issues, particularly on issues that support our immigrant community. Particularly now, I too am an immigrant, so this is an issue that is not only important to the city, but also to me personally. So I look forward to that partnership. And I look forward to working with all of my fellow commissioners on important issues, like with President Tabor, issues relating to officer-involved shootings, particularly looking at the department's interactions with people in mental crisis and those armed with edged weapons, and also taking a critical look at officer discipline, both to ensure accountability and due process. With Commissioner Scobin, I look forward to working with you on the department's technology initiatives and the responsible use of technology, and also the department's crowd control tactics during demonstrations, including the department's treatment of protesters and members of the media. And with Commissioner Garcia, I look forward to continuing to work with you on issues surrounding officer wellness, morale, training, and all the deployment issues to ensure that officers are set up for success every time they go out on the streets. And these are just a handful of the important issues we need to address as a commission. And some of you watching and listening at home may think that we are paid to be here. We are not. We are all residents of the city who volunteer our time to serve in this role on top of our day jobs and on top of our family obligations. So you may ask why, and I think I can speak on behalf of myself and my fellow commissioners. We live in neighborhoods patrolled by the LAPD. We care about public safety and good policing. We want every resident to feel safe in their home and in their community, and we want officers to treat every Angelina with dignity and respect, which is the foundation of public trust between the department and the communities it serves. It's a humbling privilege to serve in this role, and I will be the first to admit that I do not know everything. But I am committed to listening and learning from all stakeholders, even you all in the gallery. And I will work tirelessly to ensure that the department's practices and policies reflect the values of fairness, transparency, and accountability that our residents and officers expect and deserve. So with that, I think I kept it under 3 minutes. I'm not sure. But with that, let's move on to item number 2 on the agenda, the report of the Chief of Police, Chief McDonald.
Thank you. Good morning, President Shields, Commissioners, Inspector General Barragan, City Attorney De La Guerra, and Executive Director Sibley, who's not here yet. Today's report will cover the prior 2-week period. I'll highlight key events, share our current crime statistics, and provide an update on our current staffing levels. We've had no officer-involved shootings during the previous 2-week period. Year-to-date, we're at 6 officer-involved shootings compared to 12 at the same point last year. The Commission had requested updates on various protests we've had for the week of April 12th through 18th. There was one protest-related activity, which was on April 13th, 2026. A school walkout occurred within Central Bureau. The event was associated with the Los Angeles Unified School District teachers' strike and also served as a demonstration regarding current administration immigration policies. Approximately 300 students from multiple schools participated, assembling at LAUSD headquarters in the Rampart area. The event remained peaceful with no reported criminal activity, injuries, or law enforcement response. For the week of April 19th through 26th, there were 4 protest-related events, all of which occurred without significant incident. On April 19th, approximately 100 participants marched from Pershing Square to City Hall during the March for Nicaragua. On April 25th, 2 demonstrations occurred in the Valley and North Hollywood near Laurel Canyon and Ventura Boulevard. Approximately 40 participants gathered for Studio City Rising. In Topanga Division near Topanga Canyon Boulevard and Victory Boulevard, approximately 40 participants participated in an anti-Trump protest. All events remained peaceful with no reported criminal activity, injuries, or enforcement actions. As far as burglary arrests, a lot of attention on burglaries throughout the city. On April 14th, 2026, at approximately 19:20 hours, a mobile drone as a first responder unit was redeployed to Newton Division following the termination of a vehicle pursuit initiated by West Valley units. LA Impact personnel had been monitoring burglary suspects believed to be armed with a stolen rifle and handgun. When officers attempted to stop, the suspect fled in multiple vehicles, leading to a pursuit that traversed several divisions before terminating in the area of 62nd Street and San Pedro. Upon termination, the 3 suspects fled on foot. 1 suspect was immediately detained, while 2 additional suspects remained outstanding. Due to LAX airspace restrictions, air support was unable to provide overhead assistance. Patrol units established a multi-block perimeter, and Metropolitan Division K-9 resources were requested. A mobile DFR unit responded to the command post at 62nd and Avalon, along with additional drone resources. DFR units conducted a systematic aerial search in coordination with Metro K-9 units. During the search, DFR identified a heat source in the southwest corner of the 400 block of East 62nd Street and directed K-9 units to that location. Approximately 30 minutes later, officers located a suspect concealed behind a woodpile and attempting to scale a barbed wire fence at that exact location, identified by the DFR. That suspect was taken into custody. The remaining outstanding suspect was subsequently apprehended by officers assigned to the perimeter. DFR assets supported approximately 3.5 hours of coordinated search operations across a 4-block area, working in conjunction with LA Impact, multiple patrol divisions, and Metropolitan Division K-9 resources. These coordinated efforts resulted in all 3 suspects being taken into custody and booked for burglary. Significant arrest, David Burke arrest. On April 16th, David Burke was arrested for the murder of Celeste Rivas. This was a 7-month investigation, and throughout that time, the department faced significant criticism regarding how the case was handled, including our decision to limit public disclosures and the sealing of coroner records. Those decisions were deliberate. This investigation was guided by a single purpose: to secure justice for Celeste Rivas and to ensure that nothing said or released would jeopardize the integrity of the case. Celeste Rivas had been reported as a runaway out of Riverside County. During the course of the investigation, detectives uncovered that she had been involved in a sexual relationship with Burke when she was a minor and he was an adult. Investigators determined that Celeste was last known to be at Burke's residence on April 23, 2025, which is also the last time she was known to be alive. On September 8, 2025, Celeste's body was recovered in the front trunk of Burke's impounded Tesla. She had been dismembered, and due to the passage of time, the remains were in an advanced state of decomposition. The significant delay between her death and discovery presented major investigative challenges. Critical physical evidence had degraded or was no longer recoverable. Detectives were also required to navigate and dispel a large volume of misinformation while simultaneously conducting an extensive digital and forensic analysis. Despite those challenges, the work of our Robbery Homicide Division was relentless and methodical. Their efforts ultimately resulted in the development of sufficient evidence to present the case to the District Attorney's Office and secure the arrest of David Burke for the murder of Celeste Rivas. On April 21, 2026, at approximately 2:30 in the afternoon, Central Area officers responded to an ambulance shots fired radio call in the area of 7th Street and Main Street. Upon arrival, officers located a male victim suffering from a gunshot wound to the chest. Information from the call provided a description of the suspect, and Drone 2 was deployed to assist. The drone began canvassing the area and located a possible suspect near Broadway and 6th. Drone 2 broadcast the suspect's location and responding units, guiding our officers to the area. As officers approached, the suspect fled on foot, resulting in a foot pursuit. Drone 2 continued to provide real-time updates and requested additional units to assist. The suspect was ultimately taken into custody. A firearm was recovered at the scene, and the suspect was booked for attempted murder. The victim remains in serious but stable condition. On April 25, 2026, approximately noontime, Central Area officers, midnight, officers were driving past the Federal Building when they observed orange traffic cones obstructing traffic lanes, creating a roadway hazard. There were no apparent city, Caltrans, or maintenance workers in the area, so officers got out of their vehicle to remove the cones. While doing so, approximately 6 individuals approached and surrounded the officer's vehicle. Officers gave verbal commands for the group to move away. However, the individuals failed to comply. As officers attempted to leave the area, they observed a suspect extended his arm toward them and spray what appeared to be OC spray into the vehicle. Due to the effects of the chemical irritant, the officers were forced to stop and request additional units. While awaiting backup, the group again surrounded the vehicle and began striking the front and side windows, resulting in a help call. Department of Homeland Security personnel who were at scene assisted in detaining one suspect. Additional LAPD resources responded and a skirmish line was established. A second suspect was taken into custody by responding officers. No officers were seriously injured during the incident. The suspect, detained by federal personnel, had an outstanding federal warrant and remained in the custody of Homeland Security. The second suspect was arrested for accessory to battery on a peace officer with injury and transported to Central Division for booking. In Mission Division, on Thursday, April 16, 2025, Mission Area conducted a large-scale probation and parole compliance operation involving multiple local, state, and federal law enforcement partners. The operation was designed to address recent gang violence and proactively reduce crime heading into the summer months. Approximately 250 personnel participated, representing agencies including state parole, county probation, federal partners, and regional law enforcement. The operation targeted individuals on parole and probation with a coordinated effort to ensure compliance and identify those engaged in ongoing criminal activity. In total, 126 locations were searched, resulting in 34 arrests, 29 felonies, and 5 misdemeanors. Among those arrested were 14 documented gang members and 3 registered sex offenders. The operation also resulted in the recovery of 3 firearms, and included arrests for serious offenses, including possession of ammunition by a prohibited person and outstanding robbery warrants. Of those taken into custody, 23 were on parole and 10 were on probation. The operation was conducted without any reported use of force or community complaints. Messaging was coordinated in advance to ensure transparency and to clarify that the enforcement activity was focused on probation and parole compliance, not immigration enforcement. On April 19, 2026, over approximately 6-hour period, a suspect is believed to have committed a series of brazen sexual assaults across the Devonshire and Topanga areas. 4 of the incidents occurred in Devonshire and 2 in Topanga. Detectives worked quickly to identify the suspect and disseminate crime alerts flyers to the public. On April 23rd, the Lancaster Sheriff's Station contacted Devonshire detectives advising that a suspect wished to turn himself in connection with the April 19th incidents after seeing the crime alerts. The suspect was taken into custody and arrested for felony sexual battery by restraint. Crime picture for the week ending April 25th. All analysis is based on offense count except for homicide and victim shot through April 25th. Compared year-to-date to 25, combined person and property crimes are down 14.1%, with person crimes down 3.3% and property crimes down 16.9%. Homicides have decreased 18.2%, or 14 less victims. Victims shot have decreased 21.8% compared to this time last year. Aggravated assaults are slightly up year-to-date at 0.3%, with an additional 16 crimes compared to last year. However, we have reviewed the increase and there is no crime trend or pattern associated with that increase. Robberies are down just under 9%. Motor vehicle thefts are down 28.6%. Burglaries continue to trend downward citywide with an overall reduction of 32.3% year-to-date. Residential burglaries are down 33.4%, and non-residential burglaries are down 30.4%. Given the recent attention on burglary activity in the Valley, I want to provide a more focused update for that region. Year-to-date burglaries in the Valley are down 42.7% compared to last year, representing 599 fewer burglary crimes at the same point in time. That said, we're aware of the recent increase in activity in specific Valley areas and have already begun redeploying resources to address the trend. This includes increasing patrol presence using all available resources, deploying automatic license plate readers in impacted areas, and working in partnership with private security providers who have surveillance capabilities. We're also engaging directly with the community through meetings focused on burglary prevention strategies, as well as expanding public awareness through social media outreach. In addition, Metropolitan Crime Impact Teams are actively working to identify and investigate organized burglary crews operating in the area. Finally, we're leveraging our volunteer citizen patrol for additional visibility and support, while coordinating with specialized divisions to enhance surveillance and targeted enforcement operations. Our personnel strength and injured on duty and temporary restrictions update. The department's current staffing level stands at 8,640 sworn personnel and 2,441 civilian professional staff, as well as 349 reserve officers. Of our sworn workforce, 410 employees are currently on injured on duty status, 25 on long-term sick or FMLA leave, and 353 are working with duty restrictions, bringing the total to 788 sworn personnel, or approximately 9.1% of our workforce, who are not at full duty status. On the civilian side, 54 employees are injured on duty, 52 are on long-term sick or FMLA leave, and 226 are working with duty restrictions, totaling 332 civilian employees, or roughly 13.6% of the civilian workforce not at full duty capability. That concludes the report to the Commission this morning, Madam President.
Thank you so much. I'll start with questions from my fellow commissioners. Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon.
Thank you, Chief, for that report. I'm really pleased to hear that within a 14-day period, we had 5 protests, First Amendment activity throughout the city, And your report is that, including students, that there was no significant incidents, no criminal activity, and everything worked out well. So that's very good news for the city. I do have some other questions that I guess I can highlight now. I want to, first of all, talk about newsworthy media reports affecting LAPD. I know that there is no policy in effect that mandates that the commissioners get a heads-up notification of what's going on, but however, there is strong expectations on behalf of the commission that we receive information. For example, the leak of the thousands of sensitive LAPD files. We prefer, or I would say that I prefer to hear about something like that, not from Lee Borgiani from the LA Times, but from the LAPD. I think that is a reasonable expectation. This nightmare leak keeps giving, and it will continue to give, and I think the commission needs to hear firsthand from LAPD on something of that significance. So that is a concern to me, Chief, and I would like to make that request again, that we be notified of important incidents, news media, reports that affect LAPD, and of course the commission as well.
Thank you. That the intent is through the executive director to make appropriate notifications. I'm sorry if you didn't get notified on this one. We'll make sure that that is rectified.
Thank you, Chief. I also want to highlight the recent Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal decision on masked and unidentified federal law enforcement officers. I'd like to request, Chief, that you consider updating the directive or the protocol that LAPD has in responding to activities, and to report back to us after consulting with the city attorney. I think that would be very important for all of us here.
That's in progress.
Thank you so much. And also, I know that there is an effort to reschedule the presentation that was removed from our agenda from LA Sanctuary Coalition, the presentation, and I believe that we may hear from them sometime in May. I'm very pleased to hear that they will be back. I think it's very important that the commission hear from the faith community, from nonprofit organizations that serve the immigrant community. And I think it informs the commission. It gives us another view of what's happening in the city. And I know that you've indicated to Madam President that we all live in the city, and we're not enclosed communities, so we know what's going on. But to hear from these nonprofits and faith-based representatives is very important to the commission. So that's I think that's what I wanted to report. And I'm hoping, Chief, that this new speeding crackdown that initiated this morning, is effective, and it helps us. It brings down our fatality numbers throughout the city, because I think it's a serious concern for everyone that lives in the city. Too many people are dying as a result of speeding and hit and runs and incidents that can be prevented. So I think that's it, Madam President.
Thank you. Commissioner Tabor.
Thank you, Madam President. Welcome back, Member Gordon. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Chief, Member Gordon raised a...
Turn your mic on.
Let's see if this works a little better. Member Gordon raised a question about the leaked information. I want to come back to that with the question about, are there other departments in the city where there is valuable information about police officers or personal information about police activity, including information that might come to the commission that we should be aware of and be notified when not just leaks, but when that information is shared with other departments.
Yeah, it's our intent to keep you apprised of what's going on, particularly anything that would be breached relative to from the department. The incident we're talking about here was breached through the city attorney's office. My belief was that notifications were made about that incident, but if not, like I mentioned, we'll rectify that. We looked at that, the ITA, the city agency that oversees all of the IT functions, was working with that. We have a CISO that also is working on behalf of the department. And so trying to be able to get our arms around what happened, what was exposed, and to be able to take remedial action on anything moving forward.
Right. At this time, are we aware, members of your department, aware of the exact amount of information that wasn't leaked that is still in possession of the city attorney's office, or and what impact that information may have?
That'll play itself out as the investigation continues. We'll get a full report when that's complete, and that's still ongoing.
All right. And you'll be keeping us abreast of any new...
Sure, absolutely.
Appreciate that. The other question is, you mentioned the detail of the investigation that went into the young lady who was this one allegedly murdered by
right.
David. Is that timing, the timing of that investigation, the amount of time that investigation took, is that typical of how we proceed, how we process homicide investigations over that period of time?
Yeah, that would not be a lot of attention on this case, which is why it got the criticism in the media that it did. But we don't work for the media. We work to try and be able to get justice, and as long as an investigation takes, is what we're going to pursue. When you look at a case like this, there's certainly the complexities and complications created by the state of decomposition, as I mentioned, but there's also then toxicology results that have to be obtained through the coroner's office, and that takes some period of time in any case. So for this investigation, with all that was involved in it, my hat's off to the robbery homicide detectives working with the coroner's office to be able to bring closure and get the case filed with the DA in the manner that they did.
The reason I bring that up, Chief, is recently a number of individuals who don't come down to our commission meetings but have taken the time to reach out to me regarding Mr. Porter's killing. And what I was able to share with them is that there is an ongoing investigation. Should we expect a similar time frame for information to come out from that investigation, or what would be the best way to describe where we are in that process?
Yeah, the investigation is ongoing, working with the district attorney's office on that. District attorney will be presented the case and make the determination as to filing status on that. So that's something that is still in progress. To be able to give you what percentage we are through it, I'm not able to do that at this time.
Understood. All right.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Scobin.
Thank you. Glad to hear some positive examples where drones have assisted in solving crime. I have some drone questions, but I'll save them for the annual report later on in the meeting.
Okay.
Circling back on the data breach, curious, obviously there's a lot of sensitive personnel information, including medical records. What, if any, efforts have been made to communicate to officers, notifying them of potential personal information being breached?
Yeah, we've been working with the union to be able to share as much information as we can as to the status and impact of what was leaked. And I know that's a work in progress right now. As far as what was offered, I believe there was offered some chance to be able to work with credit agencies and work with for any other personal information that was leaked. But it's an ongoing situation that we're still trying to figure out ultimately what was released and what's still out there.
Okay, thank you. And you touched on the increased patrol efforts in the valley with the uptick in burglaries.
Right.
Is there anything else notable to share? Those patrols are ongoing.
Right.
So anything notable occurred or anything else?
I think the biggest thing is to try and be able to provide some level of assurance that we are working very diligently at this, and we have from last year's numbers, which were down from the year before, we're down 42% in the valley for burglaries. So tremendous success in driving burglaries down. Any one is one too many, and as they come up, we're taking them very seriously. Trying not only to identify perpetrators for a single burglary, but to be able to look for serial burglary incidents, to tie it to crews that have been operating in the city, and to be able to bring some closure that way through cleared by arrest.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
Good morning, all. Chief. Good
Morning.
morning. Can you share a little bit more about the action that was taken in the Mission area? You mentioned 34 arrests in that action. Can you share a little bit about what specifically and who was being targeted?
There were people who were active, but who were currently on both probation and parole, working with county probation, state parole, other law enforcement agencies to be able to try and proactively prevent gang activity and gang violence from happening as we head into the summer months. The focus specifically, I don't have information on an individual level, certainly, but they had been working on this for quite a period of time to be able to focus on those most likely to be those involved in violent criminal activity.
All right, thank you, Chief. Was there any connection to that action and the Rampart action that occurred a few weeks ago?
Other than there could potentially be some tie-in at the macro level, but nothing that we can talk about now.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Now, Friday is May Day. Can you share a little bit about how the department is preparing for the demonstrations?
Sure. In a macro sense, I can. The preparations are ongoing. We have a plan, emergency plan for this to be able to deploy sufficient resources and still be responsible relative to overtime. We have the ability to be able to somewhat predict what the crowd size may be, and certainly we're monitoring social media. We're working with those that are the organizers of marches and demonstrations like this to try and be able to ensure that everybody can exercise their First Amendment rights, but to do so in an organized and peaceful way.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure. Thank you.
And thank you, Chief. And thank you for, I think you answered a number of my questions. First, congratulations to the significant arrests that have occurred and the hard work of the officers and detectives involved there. I was going to ask about the rise of specific burglary, string of robberies that are happening, burglaries that are happening in the valley, and I'm glad that the department's taking proactive steps there, and hopefully that has a direct impact. Again, even if statistics show overall it's going down, when people hear about it over and over again, they feel less secure in their homes.
Right.
And so the more the department can do to help with that, I think is great. Commissioner Garcia also asked the question about the May Day demonstrations. And I do want to make sure that, again, that, people are being communicated to the expectations of how the department is to respond, particularly to media and reporters. I want to hopefully that is being shared at every opportunity, what is expected in terms of calling supervisors and what their protocol is in terms of not limiting access to media of areas where they need access. So hopefully that when we hear, when we're at our next meeting and we hear about the debrief, I'll just be very interested to know about, dispersal orders and how is it communicated, and and making sure people are given an opportunity to disperse before being arrested, things of that nature. Hopefully we don't have to deal with all those issues, and hopefully everything is peaceful. But to the extent, it's always good to be prepared, especially if we know that there are, upcoming demonstrations.
Thank you.
I also had a question, and this is or at least an observation, seeing that there are other departments across the country that have had some reports of officers abusing the flock cameras and using them for personal purposes. I haven't seen any reporting that involves LAPD, and I hope it stays that way. But I want to make sure that there are steps in place that, audit trails that can be looked at, and that there is auditing happening to ensure that officers are not abusing those types of cameras for their own personal gains. Is that already in process, or is that something that we can build in an additional kind of auditing to ensure that's not happening?
Yeah, certainly the message is very clear, much as it is with criminal offender record information of what's authorized and what's not, and not to use anything for personal reasons that is meant for work purposes. Likewise with, the situation that you mentioned, that I believe is very clear to everybody. That'll be an ongoing effort to make sure that people are aware of that, and then to create or build on the audit capacity we have in order to be able to be very comfortable that that is the case.
Thank you. And for the Inspector General, I think, as you develop your audit plans, whether it's in the current or in the future, I think once we see certain, media efforts of like what's happening in other departments, it's always good to inform to make sure we're proactive in ensuring that's not an issue here. So I would ask that you consider adding that to your, next audit plan.
Thank you. Yes, we will do that.
Earlier this month, we celebrated National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all the police service representatives, the 911 dispatchers. All of their hard work is recognized and so very valuable to the department, and the people of the city and also the officers. You would not be safe without them. So thank you for your service. Okay, with that, I will move to item 3 on the agenda, public comment. Madam Secretary, please call on the first speaker.
First up, we have Audit LA.
Please don't forget there's Zoom callers too. You guys don't do enough Zoom callers. Thank you. Okay. Good morning. I want to talk about what's going on. I think we all know it's Scientology, but right now, we know there's all these Scientology runs, and it's, kids doing what kids do sometimes, not realizing the horrible entity that they're dealing with. Like they'd be willing to make sure these kids do not get a good education, do not get good jobs, because that's what they do. They fair game. They believe in destroying their enemies utterly. And any of us who speak up about it, we all know what they do. But I want to talk about the kids aren't going to stop, right? Kids aren't going to listen to us and say, hey, this is a bad idea. This isn't what you should be doing. Don't do it. We don't want you to do it. You're coming up against a dangerous organization, but they're going to do it. So the best thing to do is Scientology has become the nuisance. Okay, for decades, this city has not done what it needed to do to stop what is really just a criminal cartel posing as a religion. They are a criminal cartel. How many victims have come forward, have spoken up, whether in person, on email, on YouTube or whatever? There's so many. And it's a consistent story of human trafficking, of sex abuse, of child abuse, senior abuse, financial abuse, every kind of abuse imaginable, of prison camps, of slave labor. It's amazing how they are able to continue that in this city. And now they're paranoid, and now they want to play victim and say, oh, we're under siege. Well, it's because nobody stopped this stuff when they had the chance. And I'm not justifying or saying, well, what these kids are doing is right. But I don't know if they're trying to take it into their own hands, but vigilante justice is not a good idea at all, and it's dangerous. And I'm worried about these kids getting killed. Okay, they're bringing armed guards into this situation. I'm also worried about Scientologists getting killed, and not by these protesters or these kids. They are locking their doors to their buildings from the outside, and they have their people on the inside. They just do not care about their own people because they believe when you die, it's okay. You're going to have another life, and we'll pick it up then. Okay, so they are locking the doors, and that has to stop. And I am like, it's at the point where they needs to have a nuisance abatement. They have to shut down, okay? And the crimes have to be dealt with and not turn it into where they, like Kirsten Peterson, I bet she's been, sending you emails, or Kendrick Moxon saying, oh, we're under siege, we're victims. They're not the victims. She's a victim. Right there, that lady right there is a victim, and there's many, probably every Sea Org member is a victim. You have another victim who wants to call in, Nora. She's a victim, okay, of Scientology. They're not victims with what the kids are doing. Like I said, I don't condone it. I don't agree with it. They shouldn't be doing it, but Scientology is not the victim here. And please make it stop. They need to be shut down. Thank you.
Next on Zoom, we have Sandra.
Hi, good morning. Last week, I heard yet another life story from a woman who grew up drenched in the abuses of Scientology. Being raised in the slum conditions Scientology calls housing, where there are so many cockroaches and rodents because Scientology can't use chemical pest control due to the amount of kids they have in there. Bunk beds stacked so high you can touch the ceiling. She spoke of how she is a witness to their cover-up of child sexual abuse because she was raped as she was a child behind those Scientology walls. Why does Scientology not report these crimes to the authorities? Because it's a crime in Scientology to go to law enforcement, and you will be punished in their internal jail, forced labor camps. In Scientology, if a crime is committed against you, it's because you brought it on yourself, either in this life or a previous one. She also told of how, as a young child, she and other children were shipped off as slave labor to work and build the Pack Ranch, where all the kids were shipped off to from the baby slum farm and at the age of 3 to work as Scientology's child slave labor workforce. She spoke how at the Celebrity Center she worked in the kitchen as a young kid, not a grown teenager or a child. What company is providing liability insurance for this obvious human rights and labor law violations? There she was, cooking and prepping meals that you, LAPD and LAFD senior staff and chiefs were enjoying when you go to their party, Scientology, accepting their bribe money under the guise of $20,000 donations for the LAPD holiday toy drive and the Hollywood Cadet program. You are helping them to recruit kids into a cult that perpetuates child sexual abuse and human trafficking. That one little item, cash, is all it takes for LAPD and LAFD and this commission to turn a blind eye to child rape, mental and physical abuse. Meanwhile, Scientology keep the relationship with LAPD? Sweet. Thank you. I yield back my time.
Next, we have Laura FM.
Hi, good morning. So I'm going to echo what everybody was just saying about the Scientology stuff. I'm sure you've heard about the Scientology runs that these kids are doing. It's not just in Hollywood. It's a lot about all the major, quote, Scientology buildings. That building in Hollywood is not a religious building. So those children, when a sign outside where you have indentured servants in the cult outside recruiting kids all day long on Hollywood Boulevard, when a sign says all are welcome, kids are allowed to protest in their artful sense and run in and do whatever. If it says all are welcome, that is not disturbing any religious entity whatsoever. So keep that in mind when you have Jennifer Croston and Kirsten Peterson and Moxon, Kendrick Moxon going to the police station trying to get these kids arrested. It says open to public. There should be no reason that the indentured servants have their hands on minors. Why were they shoving them, screaming them, throwing them out? That's illegal. Where's their internal security who's trained and ready to deal with children? Scientology sits there recruiting children and their family members on Hollywood Boulevard all day long, and yet here they are kicking children out that are running through. Why? Because this is the child's protest. They are so sick of the commission board not doing anything about Scientology. Yet you have Karen Bass and Hugo sharing the same flyer about the events happening on L. Ron Hubbard Way that are used to promote and get people into Scientology. It's a human trafficking fucking gang. It's a cartel. And you're going to get, literally, what did they do, Jim? They ripped the handles off the outside of the doors of the testing center, locked the members inside. They had them all chained up, linked arm in arm. Why? That's mental. Jim, this is us exposing this cult. And this is what their reaction is. This is dangerous. So, Scientology has to be shut down on testing center right now. It has to be. Otherwise, they're going to they do not believe in mental health. They don't believe in psychiatry. That is their enemy. So you have people who are brainwashed, signed a billion-year contract under mental distress, has very little sleep, being ordered by David Miscavige and below to do these criminal acts because they will do anything to protect Scientology. Protecting Scientology is protecting pedophilia, protecting rape, protecting victims that decided to not be a part of Scientology, their family disconnection policies. This is what you're protecting. You're protecting children who have long-term life mental damage from this cult. Please make it known that this cult on the Hollywood Boulevard has to shut down.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next, we have Nora on Zoom.
Can you hear me okay?
Hi, yes.
You can hear me?
Yes, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm going to echo what Laura and Audit and Haggis said earlier, Sandra. I grew up in Los Angeles. I was born there. I was actually born in the brand new Cedars building the day it opened when Scientology bought the Cedars of Lebanon complex and they moved over to Beverly Hills. So my familiarity with Scientology, I grew up in it. I was also a worker, an indentured servant at the Celebrity Center for 5 years until I was thrown into their slave labor concentration camp for being gay in the year 2000. And I spent almost 3 years there doing 10 to 15 hours of work a day, 7 days a week, 20-minute meal breaks, running everywhere, no other breaks. And I specifically did renovations on many buildings on Hollywood Boulevard, but the one that is in question with these TikTok runs, the test center, that was all renovated by slave labor inside of Scientology, people being paid $12.50 per week for 80 plus hours of work per week. I can tell you 100 million% there are no religious services occurring in that building. Calling that a religious building is the same as calling an ROTC recruitment office the military, okay? There is no difference. It is a recruitment center where people stand on Hollywood Boulevard all day handing out flyers, convincing and coercing children to come into the building unsupervised with no parental consent to watch propaganda films about L. Ron Hubbard, who states in Dianetics that a 7-year-old girl should not shudder away from a kiss from an adult man, even a passionate one, unless she has aberrations. It is a pedophilia crime syndicate hiding under the cloak of religion that in its very first book teaches children and adults that it is okay to abuse children because there should be nothing wrong with it unless the child themselves has something wrong with them. So the fact that teenage TikTokers, and I have teens myself, are doing a trend where they are parkouring through a building, I will agree with everyone's sentiment that that is an illegal activity. You cannot force your way into something. And if someone asks you to leave private property, you should leave. Minimally, these kids should be trespassed because that is the actual crime they are committing. but there are no religious services whatsoever occurring there to disrupt. Okay, the only thing that's being disrupted is Scientology's facade that they are an expanding religion. Every single one of these TikTok runs, if you watch the video, shows clearly the building is empty. There is no one there. That is why Scientology is.
Next, we have William Good.
Good morning. So once again, Jim lied. You guys asked about the leaks and asked why you weren't made aware of them sooner. He had the information. Jim right here had the information back in the beginning of March. I had the information back in the beginning of March. I have the whole file. I was told by somebody in the command staff how it became leaked. Command staff knew. The LAPPL is pretending that they're aghast by it. They knew too. Let me tell you something. There's no personal information of cops in their medical records, but there are rape victims' personal information in there that wasn't secured. So again, this guy comes up to you every week and just fucking lies to you, and you guys just take it. He's a liar. Did you ever get the report on comparing the OISs with the LAPD versus other places? I know you've been asked 4 times for that. You haven't provided that information. Now, you mentioned the arrest in the Celeste Rivas case. Personally, I think we all agree she should be alive right now. And she's not alive right now because no adults stepped in and said, hey, why is this 14-year-old with a grown man? Right? We should be aghast at that. Somebody should step in. But at the same time, this LAPD right here, they have a relationship with this guy, James Richardson. He's on their clergy council. You talked about relationships with faith members. He's on their clergy council. He runs their Faith in Blue events where he's the MC. Well, James Richardson dated a 14-year-old, then married her when she was 16. Clergy council. I know this guy, he runs security for the Church of Scientology in Hollywood. So when they're trying to recruit kids in there, 14, 15-year-olds, this guy's running security for that place, and he married a 16-year-old. This is who you're doing business with. This is who all your senior lead officers, hang out with. In fact, Jesse Rubalcava, a Hollywood senior lead officer, I had a kid come up to me and said when he was in the cadet program, he brought me over to the Scientology Celebrity Center and told me how great it is. Why the fuck do you have senior lead officers taking kids over to the Scientology or any religious center? Why are we doing that? But that's what happens with the LAPD. They do have this relationship with the Church of Scientology that's just sick. And it is a child predator cult. And these guys right here, your LAPD, are just trying to feed kids right into that shit. It's fucking disgusting. I noticed in your report you talk about, once again, the number of officers are down. And you guys are going to great lengths to try to increase the number of officers or at least hold steady. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to happen, Jim. The number of officers are going to keep on decreasing because you guys show on a regular basis that you are a piece of shit and nobody wants to be involved with you. So I look forward to the number dropping. Enjoy your day.
Next, we have Philip Tabby.
Good morning. All items, please.
Okay, 3 minutes.
I'd first like to point this commission and everyone to please read the letter written by Voices for LAPD submitted for today's public comment on very important issues. Another very important issue is the civilian border rights that Commissioner Shields made comments on at a previous meeting. This is a topic that I spoke on last year, and I was surprised to hear Commissioner Shields claim it's a broken system. Most officers want to go to a border rights when and if that situation presents itself. Commissioner Shields, I respect you, and I think you have a good head on your shoulders. So I urge you and every commissioner to sit in on some of these border rights hearings and report back to us what you see. How many commissioners here have actually sat in the hearings? The border rights judges are a civilian oversight board that you hired. Now this commission is trying to overturn a charter change that this commission approved and the people voted for. Did it ever occur to you that maybe the IA investigations are poorly done? I think it would be a good idea to investigate and look into poor and faulty investigations. Do you expect a 5-minute presentation given to the chief from IA is a good assessment of the Board of Rights? Once again, a civilian board you hired. Reminder, you are a civilian board as well. Do the right thing. Moving on. What's going on with all of these allegations in regards to Scientology? At the least, let the community know an investigation is ongoing. Something needs to be addressed for everyone's safety. Activists are making a lot of noise. Just look at YouTube. And it's your job to address it. Do something. God bless the LAPD. I yield the rest of my time.
Next, we have Andrew Gravener.
Okay. So we have a new president. It's all a big revolving door. I mean, you notice almost nobody's lasting the full 5 years. It's, you're all just pretty much barely staying on this commission. It's because you get on this commission, you immediately turn into just someone who just rubber stamps everything without question, and you get pushed out by the community. But it's all a big revolving door, and you're all gonna come out ahead in the end. You'll just serve on the commission a few years. Everyone hates you. You get forced off, and then you go get a good book and get a nice movie deal like Errol Southers and make a lot of money. It's all just a self-enriching for every single one of you. So, I wanted to know something Teresa mentioned. She mentioned that you have like these subcommittees. What are those subcommittees? When do they meet? Because if you're having subcommittees, don't they need to be Brown Act noticed meetings? Don't you need to give notice and allow the public to come give public comment at these subcommittees? So when are the subcommittees? What are the subcommittees? Where are they? When do they meet? So we can come out and give public comment at the subcommittees too. Because it seems like if you're having those meetings, you're required by the Brown Act to have it publicly noticed and have public comment at those meetings. So that would be very interesting to know about. And just a lot of nonsense. We all know that you're just going to rubber stamp absolutely everything. That's what does. I've literally had this commission change almost completely twice since I started coming here just a few years ago. It's the same shit. Every single commissioner just rubber stamps everything. It's, but again, what it really is you're all extension of the mayor and the city council who love all this stuff that you're doing, and you're not even allowed to think for yourself. You're not even allowed to come up with what you want to do to hold the LAPD accountable. It's just what the mayor and city council want, which is a completely unaccountable, out of control LAPD that just does whatever the heck they want, and then they get $3.5 billion. They got mayor's proposing another huge budget increase this year. And it's just the same thing, and it's going to be more violence. The chief pretty much openly admitted that the officers chose to assist ICE in at least one case. There's no reason why they needed to do anything about the cones in the middle of the street outside the Metro Detention Center. If the federal government wants to deal with it, they can deal with it themselves. You shouldn't be helping them and targeting protesters against them just because you claim you don't assist them, but yet you repeatedly assist them. And lie about it. I can't even get through this long consent agenda, but fuck pretty much every single one of them. And you're using those drones to target people and cause more harm.
NWA Almonte. NWA Almonte.
Good morning, motherfuckers. I'm here representing America First. Yeah. You know D4DD, what he did to Lady? He dismembered her. Why? What was their investigation when you put the motherfucking car inside the parking lot and nobody look in the trunk? You're supposed to thoroughly check everything before you put it into claim, into property of the police. But no, motherfucking girl sleeping car, dead. Motherfucker, huh? And then we got other motherfucker, CTA 31. Motherfucker CTA 31 tried to kill Donald J. Trump. Why? Why do you want to kill the President of the United States when he's doing a good job keeping these fucking illegals out of our country? Stealing. Dialysis, you steal. Welfare, you steal, motherfuckers. Social Security, you steal, motherfuckers. All this motherfucking pandering over your fucking sanctuary tissies. I do not like sanctuary tissy. I like America first. But you motherfuckers are all going to hell. Let me read into this document for the record in my hand, which I submit for record. Transcripts will reflect this motherfucker. Let's go to read. General public comment period came after a speaker used profanity and racist language during his time in El Monte. Fucking Shanique Williams' character antagonist, interracially evil woman, interrupted a public meeting. 415, 403, fucking Hawkman. What the fuck are you doing about it? You don't allow people to attack people in a public meeting. That's terrorism. Every motherfucker here has a right to come here and say the motherfucking thing in their mind, Jimmy. And my motherfucking mind tells me, Mr. Ford, fuck the police. They do a good job, motherfucker. Just like ICE, motherfucker. Just like Bill Asaley, motherfucker. Just like David O'Carter, motherfucker. And the proof's in the pudding in my document here. 3 fucking pages from San Gabriel Valley Tribune. That fucking bitch lie. That fucking bitch scared me. I fear my life as a political enemy from you motherfuckers trying to get me away from city meetings to protest my fucking language, the fucking American language. When the motherfuckers go to war, they don't say please, they say you're gonna die, motherfucker. But this is not violence. This is how I speak in America, because you white motherfuckers too taught me how to speak like this. When your fucking police put me in bars for 5 days with that motherfucker wetback, Jose Louis Weezer, and that fucking dickhead Becerra. Fuck you.
Next, we have Marcel Hilliard.
Sir. Okay, for those, people will have an opportunity to speak. And ma'am, this is your first warning, and if you, I do not agree with the speech that he provides, but, all right, so,
you know that.
Okay, sir, this is your first warning, and for everyone who may, okay, ma'am, I'm going to ask you to leave if you interrupt one more time. And for those of you listening at home, just understand that this is a public meeting. And even if we do not agree with the speech that is being said, we have to allow it, even hate speech, unfortunately. So, but this is what we are obligated to do. So with that, let's move on to the next speaker.
Hello. Good morning.
Okay. So, sir, ma'am? Go ahead.
Good morning. I have no hate speech planned. My first comment is in reference to General Agenda Item A. I wanted to express my support for expanding technologies that improve officer and civilian safety, including DFR programs, drones, GPS tracking tools, and other alternatives that can help reduce dangerous pursuits and improve situational awareness before officers arrive on scene. I'm also conducting a statewide study across more than 200 California agencies using PRA requests to better understand operational patterns behind police-related incidents, settlements, and claims. The goal is to identify where improved field guidance, training access, operational awareness, and interagency information sharing may help reduce preventable failures. One of the early patterns we're seeing is that agencies are not often sharing operational lessons quickly enough, particularly around use of force and search and seizure, Fourth Amendment related incidents that later result in significant liability. Considering the scale of police-related settlements over the last decade, I believe that we should be treating these incidents not only as legal outcomes, but also as operational data points that can help prevent repeat failures. We'll be publishing the statewide findings in June, and we'll be happy to share the report with the Commission or any interested stakeholders. Thank you.
Next, we have Tran Sonha.
Thank you. I here for America. Thank you, Chief Jim McDonald and LAPD headquarters. I love all of you here. I say this message to America over and over again. Very important for all of us, right and safety. USA controlled by big worldwide corporation, corrupt system. This system is broken. They control Google, doing all different kind of lie, killing all American people. We have failed president, failed Supreme Court, failed USA Medicare Center, failed USA Consumer Report, failed USA Healthcare Improve Quality Control, the U healthcare system, mass murder in USA history. We never save with this broken system. They lie, killing all American people by medication, in mental hospital, and in jail, and in hospital every day. Mr. Jim McDonald, I need your help. Very easy and very simple. Recommend transfer her. God's through me already done very good job to protect the U.S. government and protect all American people and all human rights and safety around the world peacefully. Then all American people and all worldwide human rights 100% support you doing better job than president for USA. God bless America and all human rights around the world. From Los Angeles, Mr. Jim McDonald, the world it will change. It's better with you, with your help, and better for USA in here. We all church in you. We love you, and we support you. And better change for us. If you support me, I'm here with you and play everybody, and church him. I church in you. God bless America. It's very important. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next, we have T. Okay, Sheila Bates.
My name is Tandiwe. A couple days ago, ahead of the Los Angeles Budget and Finance Committee, where BLMLA presented our people's budget, the LAPPL made a targeted post aimed at my mama. They circled her out and named her for all the fascists who are their fans. And the LAPPL is the fake lobbyist mobster group that is posing as a union, the union for the LAPD. They funnel thousands of dollars into political campaigns to elect officials that will ignore their crimes and literally help them get away with murder. My mother is an insanely brave woman. She sacrificed her own life as an academic, and she sacrificed political prestige and accolades to call out the LAPD and the LAPPL for their lawless behavior and all those who protect them. The LAPPL has continued to target her. One post literally had a graphic of a target or a bullseye on top of her image. This is shameful. Who do you call when the police are the gangsters? Who is Miss Tyler and Miss Franciola supposed to go to now that their beloved Keith Porter is gone? What about Mama Cheryl Lynn? Her baby Christopher DeAndre Mitchell will never come back. What are you going to do about that as the police commission? I mean, do you even have the power? Do you know what power you have? What will the LAPPL do to you if you actually did your job that you're supposed to do on this commission and held the police accountable? Maybe you're just as scared of the LAPD as we all are, which would tell us everything we need to know about you and the sham of this commission. You have documented rapists, murderers, and violent offenders living high on the hog, pun intended, in the most decked out, villainous looking lair of a headquarters here. Meanwhile, the hardworking Angelinos who actually fix the city every day and other city departments are facing layoffs, furlough days, and department budget cuts to make up for this department's issue of murder, violence, and destruction. I echo the demands of several community organizations, including my own with BLMLA, that Chief McDonald needs to be fired. He has openly refused to enforce a standing law while it was in effect. He has made zero progress on bringing to justice Brian Palacios, who killed Keith Porter. And he continues to lie and cover up police misconduct and violence against protesters. It is a shame. We need you fired. Chief McDonald, you need to be gone, and this commission really needs to do better. The fact that the union representing these officers is allowed to target me and my family for our private views is ridiculous. They are supposed to be law enforcement, not a gang of thugs or a mob.
Sheila Bates.
So, Rasha, this is your first meeting as president, and you sat here and you admonished me and community for lashing out at a speaker who was using a racial slur. And I don't give a shit if it's First Amendment speech or not. If you can't say anything about it, then you shut your mouth and you let community fucking say something like we did. He has a swastika on his back. And you are going to sit there and instead you're going to sit there and say he has a right to speak. We have a right to speak. You're more concerned about someone disrupting a meeting when you are disrupting lives, and he's disrupting a meeting more by using a racial slur. Your priorities are fucked up. Fire McDonald. McDonald, you should be making sure that Brian Palacios is being charged for the murder of Keith Porter. But of course, you're best friends with ICE, so of course you're not going to come for Brian Palacios because you're over here. You've been friends and been supporters of ICE from the beginning. Yes, look right at me. For once, you're looking at somebody. Let me make it crystal clear. When we say fuck the police, we mean fuck your bitch ass too. Fuck you. Fuck you. With my whole chest. Fuck you. How dare you sit here? You were fired by the people when you were sheriff over at the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. We fired you then. Mark my words. We're going to fire you from this commission. We will fire you from this commission. If you don't believe me, ask Chief Beck. Oh, wait, that's right, former Chief Beck. If you don't believe me, ask former Chief Moore. Mark my words. Your days on this commission are numbered. And every single one of you who are sitting here not doing a damn thing, protecting all of this, being a rubber stamp body, all of you are equally complicit. 1,200 people a year are killed by the police. LAPD is one of the most murderous police departments in the country, time and time again. And then the Los Angeles Police Protective League has the audacity to come for a community member and put a literal target on her back. She is a mama of 3 children. Her child is sitting here in this room, and ain't none of y'all said shit about that. Shame on every single one of you. You all have blood on your hands. May the spirits of not only Keith Porter, not only Christopher DeAndre Mitchell, but our most righteous ancestors, Ida B. Wells, Harriet Tubman, and Nat Turner, haunt you in your motherfucking dreams. How dare you? How dare you sit here in front of community that you're supposed to represent, but instead do the bidding of the police. Instead do the bidding of LAPPL. Shame on every single one of you. And I'm sure you're counting down, waiting until my time is over. Because you don't want to hear the truth. You don't want to hear from community. And you make that clear by having ropes and having people try to keep us out of
Thank you. You've now had an opportunity to speak. It is someone else's turn to speak. And you've already been given a warning. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Dr. Melina Abdullah.
You mean the person who you put a target on?
Okay. Baba Akili.
She left. That's you.
I should really just put Sheila on loop, huh? I mean, and just echo what she said. We have been coming here for at least I've been coming here for over 14 years, and two things that we have demanded: transparency and accountability, both of which you all have failed at unbelievably so. And if you don't believe me, just read the paper. Yesterday it came out in the LA Times that one of the worst explosions in South LA, which happened in 2021, and the officers who were responsible were suspended for 10 days. 10 days. That's the equivalent of a slap on the wrist. That's the equivalent of saying, we accept what you did, but go sit down. And the only reason we know that is because that information was leaked. The only reason that the public knows the name of Brian Blasio is because we in the community found out. Two simple things that I assumed that you all were here to do: transparency and accountability. And you all have failed consistently at that. Not only have you failed at it, I don't even think you care about it. The fact, Danny, that you asked the question about Keith Porter is at least somewhat illuminating. The fact that we got that bullshit answer was even worse. But the fact that it was asked about at all, I think begins at least to get at some of the work that you all should be doing. Those officers who were responsible for that explosion in 2021 should all be fired. And the people responsible should all be removed. If we don't do that, you continue to give permission to be the murderous police force that you have been for at least my time coming here. Well, no, there's a couple of times you come in second after the sheriffs. And you all spend you all spend the third amount of money in the nation on civil suits. Though that money comes out of the general fund. Fire McDonald, just like we fired Beck, and just like we fired, what was his name before Beck or after Beck? Moore. No more Moore. No more Moore. So, thank you. I got 15 seconds left. Where's Melina? Oh, Sheila, stand up.
Oh, no.
No, you're on your computer. The fact that you all are more concerned about order than you are justice is an example of why Dr. Martin Luther King made that in his letter from the Birmingham jail.
Thank you. Next speaker,
Michael Williams.
please.
Come on, Baba Keely. Tell him, Michael.
It is taking everything in my motherfucking body not to disrupt this meeting because y'all won't even talk about Elias Riel. This is a second straight meeting. This man was murdered. Even your own body cams tell this man is a liar. This disease that sits next to you that y'all are thinking. He lied about a man being murdered. Am I going crazy? No. The man didn't even have a chance to put a gun down. Didn't have a chance to react to the officers before they shot him and then emptied the clip on him while he was on the ground. And none of you give a damn. His life matters. Just like y'all don't give a damn about Keith Porter. Only one of you, after months, have asked about his case. Y'all should be asking this disease every single week. What is happening? How do you guys congratulate yourself, think you do anything good when you literally won't talk about a man who was murdered? In the own body cam that he saw, by the way, before he made that slanderous and lying statement, it shows he was murdered. And none of y'all care. None of y'all care enough to even say the man's name. To acknowledge that his life was taken. And you want us to sit here and be orderly, treat y'all with respect? Why would I treat someone who doesn't care about murder with respect? Why would I treat anybody that sit here and allows a man to continue to support an agency that is raping people? We know that. We know ICE is taking minor girls to hotels, trafficking them, and raping them. We know that. That's not conjecture. That's not a conspiracy theory. That has been proven. And you're allowing this man to say they're just doing their job. I have it on video of him saying that we can't disrupt them from doing their job. That's why he didn't want to enforce the mask ban. Their job of kidnapping people. You allowed this man to lie about a man being murdered. I don't know what's wrong with y'all, but y'all better talk this public comment in.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Thank you, Michael.
Jonathan Foster.
Who's the name? Call the name again.
Hello, Jonathan Foster. So we'll try to start with this one. A few of these recordings.
I recall getting multiple seatbelt violations until I learned to put my seatbelt on, right when the law first changed.
So is that the 86 law or the 93 law? And I don't believe you. I want to see the documentation that you got pulled over, Coptic Christian. Going to be a lawyer? I don't think that's true. I don't think that's a lie.
The specific offenses that are happening over and over again.
Like Elias Real happening over and over again. And I made this 2 weeks ago before they voted.
For people in the gallery, with some noise happening in the gallery here.
Do you know this is not a gallery? I am not artwork. This is not artwork. This is a hearing room. And if I was artwork, I am extremely fine, expensive art if I was. Next one.
Different articles recently and other things talking about kind of the Board of Rights decisions that seem to kind of make a mockery of the LAPD's disciplinary system, and also, frankly, some lawsuits that make a mockery of the discipline system. And I hope that there will be a good opportunity for this commission to weigh in on what that discipline system should look like.
Yeah, well, we should have something to do with that. So on Elias, I saw the video. The officers need to submit a blood test that shot him. And it's the murder on and on. What I see was a guy with both hands down, both shoulders down, walking away, not running. And this is the same thing as Eric Rivera. The driver did not get the car in park, and it almost rolled over Elias, just like it did Eric Rivera. Don't any of you five ever wear green here, please, because Eric Rivera held up a green squirt gun. They busted out of the car, and then the car drove over him. They left them there for 7 hours. This almost just happened again. And this is, I say it's 98% excellent service and 2% that's gross. This is gross, and I don't think it measures up to what we want to see. I don't think it's building trust. Yeah, this is Oopum. Remember, there's Oops. OOPS, oops, out of policy shooting, but this is a OOPM, OOPM, out of policy murder. OOPM. Oops, oops. Oh no, he died. Oh, it's a OOPM. Oh, damn, it's a OOPM. It's very upsetting, very upsetting. How about Lawrence Gonzalez, the guy in San Pedro? When he was standing up, officers holding him down, and the officer standing shot him like an execution, holding him down.
Thank you.
Madam President, we're now at 46 minutes and we have roughly 8 cards left.
Let's hear the next speaker. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Jason.
Who wants to bet Cortina's back on the street? McDonald claims the LAPD is the most transparent pig department in the nation, and the public doesn't even know what this pig looks like. It's a mystery. We'll have to wait years to find out what Cortina looks like unless someone in the community comes forward with a pic, just like we would have never known the name and face of Keith Porter Jr.'s murderer without the community. Now, in April's chief's message, McDonald really had the nerve to say Southeast Division had seen the best of what policing can be, going as far as saying the communities in that division are held together because of the LAPD. Nothing could be further from the truth. Also, fuck James Choquette. He was a white supremacist just like you, Jim, and inshallah, one day you'll meet the same fate. Now, what was the most memorable quote from this monotonous monster? Quote, we at the LAPD do not run from our history. We own it. We confront it. And we become better and stronger for it. The pinkest of pigs can't even own what's happened under his own leadership. During an interview with Fox 11, McDonald boasted about increasing morale over his time as chief. You wonder why? Pigs are allowed to do whatever they want under his command. Whatever. Racist, you could say racist shit, you could do whatever you want. Rasha, you're worried about pigs using flock cameras to stalk people. We had a literal stalker as the president of this commission. Do you forget Errol Southers? Do you forget the deputy chief of this department, the highest ranking Latino officer? What was his name? Do you remember? Labrada, yeah. AirTag Labrada. And McDonald, you said the LAPD doesn't work for the media. The media works for you, right? Now, no mention by the commissioners of the Intercept article highlighting deployment of LAPD drones to surveil the ICE out of LA protests on January 31st and No King's Parade on March 28th. He talked about all the drones in his report and didn't seem to mention this. You saw at the No King's Parade on the 28th, you had your drones right up at the start of the parade, a full 3.5 hours before the dispersal order, and Pig Matthew Jacobs told The Intercept that 99% of the time, drones are sent to a protest because the commander reports a crime in progress, but then later admitted that y'all simply wanted to see how big a crowd is. As if your shadow crowds aren't already immersed into the crowd, as if you don't have access to all these cameras around the area. When asked why drones were surveilling the No Kings protest hours before the dispersal order, Jacobs said, the LAPD cannot provide deeper insight into the specifics of a single flight. You gotta love that transparency. Wasn't it a few months back that the LAPD said that they would never deploy a drone over First Amendment activity? And when we pushed back against it, this commission looked at us like we were insane. Now, what doesn't get a lot of media spotlight was a harrowing situation involving your pigs and their brutal attack of a nonverbal autistic woman who was in sensory crisis. Witness Stephanie Orlando was assisting an autistic woman when LAPD showed up to vamp on her. When Orlando asked about deploying a smart unit to aid with the situation, your pigs flat out refused. Now, after Orlando sat down and calming down this woman who was in crisis, she had experience given her child was autistic. The pigs actually decided she wasn't moving fast enough and decided to swarm her. And at the direction of Carla Gomez, 4 of you held her against the wall and traumatized her, putting her in
Thank you. Next.
That no one is immune to your terror.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next we have Grace. Grace.
You're all appointed by Karen Bass, who says she has always fought for abortion rights. Not that she actually cares, but you continue to maintain LAPD's partnership with flock safety and the technical reality of that system makes your claims of being a safe or progressive sanctuary city completely indefensible. Let's be exact about how this works. Flock ALPR cameras captures a license plate along with the exact time, date, and GPS location of that vehicle. That data is uploaded into a centralized system where officers can search a single plate and generate a chronological map of that person's movement. That data is not confined to Los Angeles. Flock operates a nationwide network of interconnected cameras across thousands of jurisdictions. Through that network, an officer in another state can query data for far beyond their own city, either through direct data sharing agreements between departments or by accessing large regional networks. One search can return hits from tens of thousands of cameras across the country, reconstructing interstate travel. That is exactly what happened in Texas. In Johnson County, deputies ran a Flock search across over 83,000 cameras nationwide, explicitly logging evidence of a woman's self-managed abortion. This was tied to a so-called death investigation of a non-viable fetus. Officers used that data to try to locate her, build a timeline, and gather evidence, including reviewing her private communications about the abortion. This is not a hypothetical issue or a misuse. This is the intended function of the system, to locate a person by tracing the vehicle across space and time. Now bring that here. More than 70 California law enforcement agencies have already been documented sharing ALPR data with out-of-state agencies, including states where abortion is criminalized. That means someone can drive to LA for care, to a clinic, to a pharmacy, to a friend's home, and their vehicle can be logged multiple times along the way. These scans create a record: when they entered California, where they stopped, how long they stayed, and when they left. That record can then be accessed by agencies in states like Texas or Idaho to reconstruct the trip and support an investigation. You cannot claim LA is a refuge for abortion seekers while maintaining a system that documents their arrival, tracks their movements within the city, and makes that data accessible beyond state lines. That is the contradiction. And this is not about privacy. This is about power. ALPR systems allow police to turn everyday movements into evidence, to map relationships, identify clinics, and trace networks of care. This becomes a direct tool for criminalizing abortion and anyone who helps facilitate it. You are not neutral actors in this. By maintaining this system, you're actively participating in a national infrastructure that targets and criminalizes people for seeking healthcare. And beyond abortions, it also targets sex workers, young people, people seeking gender-affirming care, Black and brown people, and the list goes on and on and on. And LAPD's partnership with Flock Safety Now.
Next, we have Quinn.
Can you repeat that?
Is Quinn here?
Not only that, but on this agenda, you have an entirely massive grant of over $15 million for organized retail theft prevention. This was to implement Project Blue Light, which was supposed to start in October 2023, an investment in more LAPD surveillance technology, which are now hoping to extend another year. So now instead of being for June 1st, 2027, it'll be for June 1st, 2028. This funding, provided under the racist guise of tackling, quote, organized retail crime, is actually used to fund policing and violence, from real-time crime centers to automatic license plate readers. You provided a budget breakdown of the nearly $15.7 million grant, of which nearly $3 million goes to data integration and analytics. Over $3 million, $3,442,518, in fact, for automatic license plate readers. $5.5 million for real-time crime center build-out. And this comes after we submitted a public records request asking about real-time crime centers, and the department said that you don't have any. What is $5.5 million for if you're claiming that you don't have any real-time crime centers? This also includes over $1 million, in fact, $1.8 million for spying drones, which we know are used to surveil protest rallies and protesters, and over $700,000 for police overtime. This funding illuminates once again something we've always known. Policing is designed to protect property at the expense of Black and brown lives. Let's return to the over $3 million for ALPRs. Rasha, you're saying you're committed to listening and learning in your quote-unquote presidency, as well as the fact that you've reminded the gallery of your immigrant identity. You read from your speech that you want every resident in Los Angeles to feel safe, but there will be no safety as long as Flock and ALPR cameras continue to surveil Angelenos. You're here to listen and learn. What about the past year that you've apparently missed? We've come up here countless times detailing to the automatic license plate readers from quote-unquote safety draw a roadmap for mass deportation. How? Multiple pathways that we've outlined countless times, but I'll re-outline again in your spirit of learning today. Flock AOPR data has been queried directly from federal agencies, but also it's exchanged between LAPD and federal agencies via fusion centers. These centers, in LAPD and DHS's own language, enables the constant stream and flow of information sharing between LAPD and DHS. And Rasha, in the spirit of learning, I'll reiterate the implications. That means that Flock AOPR data is shared with ICE, CBP, and other federal agencies conducting immigration abductions. We made it clear the MOU that you have, LAPD has, that spans from 2023 till 2026 and is expiring in July, with Flock is the pathway that is enabling Flock data to be shared with federal agencies. LAPD is the key and the pathway for that data to flow from a Flock camera to ICE. LAPD is the middleman. And if you're wondering the impact, take MacArthur Park, an area where so many loved ones have been abducted out of parking lots by agents, and it's no surprise that there's 3 Flock cameras in that parking lot. Beyond immigration, Flock AOPR data is to use
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hamid.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Thank you.
Just lifting on, building on the comments that have been made by previous speakers and Queen and Grace. It's, I don't know if you guys heard the disgraceful commentary that we heard from both Rasha Shield and Teresa. So now, apparently, in a very respectful manner, people in suits and all of that are going to be coming from nonprofits and making a presentation about immigration enforcement, and the information sharing goes on. But let's not look at those women who came from Skid Row, over 10 of them, to speak about their lives and the policing and the impact of Flock safety. Let's not talk about those undesirables, the unwanted, like, yo, those are Skid Row residents. Let's not give a shit about people in Boyle Heights. Let's not give a shit about people in South Central Los Angeles, where when they launched Operation Laser, a part of the predictive policing program, their training manual, and this we got through public records, showed that a map of South Central Los Angeles and a laser beam going through the whole neighborhood. And why they named it laser was, as that Craig Uchida, who was leading this program, and I quote, that we want to go in with a laser beam precision like a medical doctor would go in to remove tumors. So South Central Los Angeles are tumors in the community, right? But no, everything that we have presented, everything we have talked about, the information sharing environment, everything we have talked about, the stalker state, in details, in 10-page letters, done through meticulous research, through your own public records, that doesn't count. Because the undesirables and the unwanted, their voice doesn't count. It has to be people in a very respectful way presenting and then calling it a sanctuary city. The Sanctuary Coalition, imagine that, in this fucking city, where even on the streets, as Michael have been kind of screaming at the top of his lungs, screaming about it, what goes on? Does Keith Porter have any sanctuary at all? Did he have any protection at all? Where the guy from ICE came and shot him? Right? But this is what he goes to show. Rasha spoke about in this very romanticized way about I'm an immigrant, my neighborhood, trust and all and everything else. Yeah, your neighborhood, man. But who's the public in that public safety? Are the people who came from Skid Row counted as the public in public safety? Are we all who come in and speak and present everything else considered the public in public safety? No. No, it's from your fancy law firm offices. It's so your fancy retired judges and all of that is what the public is, what they protect and serve. Not the 99% or 95% of the rest of the population. And even when they come and speak about it and present to you facts after facts after facts, that Flock safety is a danger to the goddamn community. Its very existence is a danger to the community. We've had a whole timeline of LAPD sexual assault, domestic violence.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Who was the previous chairman of this board?
Next speaker.
Aiden.
You know, each time I come here, I dedicate a portion of my comment to educating other people in the room who don't come here every week about what a bullshit sham this fucking body is. And Rasha, congratulations on the presidency. Teresa, sorry about the demotion. I hope it won't keep you from coming to meetings and still continuing to do jack fucking shit to help anyone in this city. You know, Chief McDonald made an interesting comment earlier. He said, I believe he said, every single one matters. He wasn't talking about lives. He was talking about retail theft. Take a moment to let that, percolate in your mind. Jim McDonald knows that he can pay attention. He can have his finger on the pulse. He can deploy his officers effectively to mitigate problems. But what he is doing is he is deploying police paid for by the taxpayer to play his fucking game, to defend stores. We need more license plate readers. We need more drones. For those of you who don't pay attention, have you heard of mission creep? Mission creep is saying that you need drones as first responders so that you can respond to hostage situations, like the one Jim McDonald outlined several months ago in his 15-minute fucking comment, when he said, oh yes, there was a guy in an apartment complex and we flew the drone up to the window and we saw he had a gun or whatever the fuck it was. All of these things are just justifications that pave the way for mission creep. You the commissioners, Teresa, Daniel, Rasha, Jeff, Fabian, I fucking forget you're even there. You, the commissioners, are the ones paving the way for the abuses that you pretend to ask your hardball questions or platitude-ass comments. Most of them aren't even questions about. When you hear, oh yeah, some guy was stalking someone using flock cameras, or, drones were not being used as first responders, they were being used as spies. Or is it the other way around, that first responders are used as spies by this department? When you hear those things and you pretend to ask these hard questions about it, know that you, behind the desk, walking in and out of the door with the pigs, you are the ones enabling and fueling this behavior. You are the ones fueling this behavior because you are the ones meant to provide oversight. But what you provide is rubber stamp signatures on anything the fucking LAPPL or whichever foundation it is, the police foundation that always donates money for things that, you can't get taxpayers to pay for. That's what your job is. Your job is to sit there, keep your fucking mouth shut, hope to social and career climb, and find a cushy job like Fabian at Homeboy, where you can pretend you're doing something to help people.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Sir, you've already had an opportunity to speak. This is your first and only warning.
Go fuck yourself, President Shields.
Next speaker, please.
Oscar? No, Oscar. Okay. Gato? Is Gato here?
As usual, good morning, everybody. You weren't here the last time I had a present for you. I didn't bring it this time. So, speaking of which, piggybacking with all the violence that we're listening from everybody, you killing people, shooting people, beating up people, kidnapping people, just being turning a blind eye to the city of Los Angeles with everything that is happening. You're just a corrupted piece of shit group that just sit in there, waste everybody's taxes. You and being in a fucking office as what is it says in there, inspector or what, gadget or whatever the fuck it is. I'm being in your office with Kangaroo Jackie making so many complaints there with the bitch with the accent about you corrupted people, especially Newton Division. You're running a gang stalking operation that is running now attacking protesters, following protesters, activists, and everybody. You guys aren't really good for that. You have a running operation there human trafficking. You're shooting people. And for all of you, I spent 1 year in prison because I was attacked for 2 gang stalkers who told me, if I'm not a gang stalker, I was going to go to prison or they were going to make me commit suicide. Guess what? I stabbed him. And I'll do it again with any of you motherfucking bitches. So anytime you want to do the gang stalking shit, you send those motherfuckers and make me responsible. If anything happens to me, it's you and your fucking snitches on the street. If anything that I do on myself to preserve my self-defense, it will be your responsibility because you are responsible in gang stalking, targeted harassment, all the fucking surveillance to doing people. That's what you're doing here in Los Angeles. Every complaint that I have on you motherfuckers don't do shit because it's a cover-up operation you have. You have people infiltrated on the protest right now. All you do is criminal because you are like bitches, lapdogs from the IDF. That's why we hear people is being raped in here by using dogs because that's what we see on the reports. The IDF is using the same tactics that you motherfuckers use in Los Angeles. Fuck you, LAPD. Fuck you, gang stalkers, paying informants, bitches on uniform.
Next, we have O. Stone.
Bismillah. I think it's very strange that the LA County Supervisors meetings are publicly broadcast, but this meeting isn't. That's very strange. I want to say Dijon Kizzy, but Dijon Kizzy was shot by the sheriffs. Is there a sheriff's commissioner meeting at all? Or a firefighters commissioner meeting at all? I'd also like to say fuck 12 as well. Getting back to those numbers on the ORTP grant, which was $539,000 for vehicles, $700,000 for data collection and evaluation, $11,000 for miscellaneous surveillance, and $20,000 for an external audit. Organized retail theft prevention grant extension. This funding illuminates once again something we have always known. Policing is designed to protect property at the expense of black and brown lives. Furthermore, the very justification for Project Blue Light was based on fabricated claims from the National Retail Federation. These groups exaggerated the numbers of organized retail theft to sensationalize and expand funding, weapons, and policing. $20K for Community Safety Partnership Bureau. LAPD continues to siphon funding for the reformist sanitization of policing through data-informed, community-focused policing. LAPD wants $20,000 to fund their CSP Jiu-Jitsu program and do youth outreach. Once again, this is not community trust building and youth development. This is counterinsurgency. These youth programs are not investments in our communities. They're investments in managing and neutralizing our communities. We saw this at the Boyle Heights Arts Conservatory when you arrested a whole bunch of formerly incarcerated juvenile youth. They're not even juveniles. These are kids that you guys are putting in prisons. The same youth LAPD arrests for truancy and harasses for hanging out in public spaces and criminalizes for survival are the ones they target for these programs. CSP youth programs. LAPD uses programming like jiu-jitsu to normalize their presence of pigs in young people's lives. CSP youth programs are about creating police loyalty and dependence at a young age. LAPD shows their true colors in their own proposal. This donation will benefit the department by enhancing overall community perception of the department. They never have and never will care about the actual safety of our communities because LAPD's fundamental role is to cause harm and be violence workers. Instead, they spend millions manipulating our communities to perceive them as trustworthy. We must push back against their deception and lies. To learn more about CSP broadly, visit www.nocsp.org. 17.9K OSB human trafficking equipment. The department is spending over $17,000 to buy 5 gaming laptops, quite literally tech toys for boys, as they harass and arrest sex workers and clients. This also includes nearly $3,000 for 2 Leads Online licenses. Leads Online is an investigation technology company with the purpose of aiding law enforcement in criminalizing black and brown people.
Madam President, that was our last card.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment. We will take a 10-minute. Actually, we'll have one more speaker. I believe she was out one more, and then we'll break.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So we're here primarily to say that the people want Jim McDonnell fired. So we're here to say fire Jim McDonnell. He's terrible. He's terrible because he colludes with ICE. He's terrible because he refuses to arrest the ICE agent, Brian Palacios, who killed Keith Porter. He's terrible because when the family of Keith Porter asked for help, they put us in a tiny interrogation room and treated us as if we were the criminals when we were the victims. He's terrible because he's an asshole. He's terrible because he allows his officers and condones his officers in the abuse and brutalization of protesters who are righteously protesting for the kind of city that we all want, need, and deserve. For the last several months, Black Lives Matter and our coalition partners have been engaging in People's Budget LA. I hope that you will read that report at peoplesbudgetla.com. What we found out this year, as in the last 6 years, is Angelenos don't want to spend more money on police. Angelenos, more than 1,500 of them. That's 50% more than the LMU study that you all rely on. And we did it with no money. They said they want to defund three things. I call them the 3 Ps. Police, prosecutions, and parking enforcement. And what they want to invest in is housing, mental health resources, light repairs, road repairs. And so what's happened is the mayor who appointed you all has refused to listen to the voices of the people when she proposed her budget. But we're asking you not to do the same. We're asking you to listen to the Angelenos that you're supposed to represent regardless of who appointed you. And nobody wants him to be the chief of police. So we're saying fire McDonnell. We're saying respect the people that you're supposed to represent. We're saying to do the right thing, and we're saying to stand up for the people. Fire Chief McDonnell. 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 And there's a petition that we just launched at tinyurl.com/fire McDonnell. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment section. The commission will take a short break and come back for the rest of the agenda. Thank you. Okay, we are back from the break, and we will move to item number 4 on the agenda. Are we all ready? Hold on. Are we missing the city attorney? Becky. Do any of the commissioners have any questions about items 4A through 4K?
I'd like to pull 4B. Please.
Of course. Anyone else? Okay. So with that, I move that we approve items 4A and 4C through 4K and take the recommended board action. Is there a second?
Second.
There's like 3 seconds, but I'll take your second, Vice President, and then all those in favor say A, yay, A,
aye,
or aye. I'm still getting used to this. Okay. All in favor? I think that the motion passes. It's unanimous. So let's move on to item 4B on the agenda. And that's the department's report relating to the 2022 Organized Retail Theft Prevention Grant Program.
Good morning. I'm Captain Bolton from Commercial Crimes.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Captain. And I'll ask Commissioner Scobin for questions.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. A few questions I have. One, there's millions of dollars as part of the grant for data integration as well as ALPR. Can you describe the data integration? Who's doing it? What data? What systems or data are integrated, et cetera? And as it relates to the ALPRs, which company or companies? Are there contracts with the companies? Who owns the data, et cetera?
Yeah, Commissioner, I'm here to speak on only the part that pertains to organized retail theft. As Commercial Crimes, I'm in charge of the $744,000 in overtime funds out of the grant. I'm also in charge of purchasing 4 vehicles for $785,000. As it relates to the technology, that is a piece by ITB, Information Technology Bureau, with Randy Goddard, who can speak on that.
Chief, do you know if we have anyone from ITB available to answer those questions?
We don't at this time. We can schedule that and get a full brief.
Okay. Do you want to hold this over for later in the meeting, or should we put it for another day?
Can we check on that? Yeah, we'll check on that.
Okay. So we will hold this item and move on to. Well, first of all, let me ask: do you have any questions for the portion of the grant that deals with the?
No, they're all.
Okay. So you are off the hook, Captain, and we will hold the rest of this number for a later date, maybe later today, or it'll be moved on to another day. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You know, on that also, given the fact that multiple of us commissioners were not on the commission when this was approved, I'd request that the commission schedule a presentation about Project Blue Light in the near future, just to get a better understanding of it, successes, and other relevant information.
All right, we'll work on that. Okay, thank you. So why don't we now turn to item 5 on the agenda, regular agenda item. Let's call 5A, which is the department's report relative to the 2025 Small Unmanned Aircraft Systems Annual Report.
Good morning, President Shields, Mr. Vice President, Commissioners, Chief McDonald, and Inspector General Barrion. I'm Detective Michael Hackman. I'm the department's SUAS Program Manager, and it's my privilege to present the 2025 annual report on our small unmanned aircraft systems to you today. So by way of brief background, our department first got into drones in 2017. The commission approved a pilot program on October 17th of 2017 with very restricted use to tactical operations and some search and rescue components. Last year, this honorable commission approved Special Order Number 4 on June 24th, which expanded the department's ability to use the SUAS equipment, also known as drones, to support public safety operations in a really new and meaningful way. Following that, on July 16th, the Office of Operations issued an OO Order Number 3 that established the Drone as a First Responder pilot program. And for the first time, in addition to the existing tactical SUAS, the department now pilots our SUAS, or the drones, to provide proactive real-time aerial intelligence to our patrol units and responding for calls for service. When you implemented that policy, you also added a bunch of policy mandates and operational requirements. And so they're kind of grouped first by operational and knowledge proficiency. And so in that regard, all of the department pilots are required to have a 107 remote pilot certificate, which is a proficiency certificate issued by the Federal Aviation Administration. Public safety operations can operate under a waiver procedure, but we actually require that higher level step. Additionally, even after receiving the remote pilot certificate, all the pilots must complete an additional department-approved training prior to operating an SUAS. And so we have 2 department-approved trainings right now. One is put on by the Office of Operations specifically for the Drone as a First Responder program. And the second is put on right now out of our Metropolitan Division, and that provides the tactical and investigative component. Additionally, all SUAS operations must be conducted with department-owned equipment. And this has 2 practical benefits. One, it can control our compliance with AB 481. And the second is it lets us verify the equipment condition. If it's department owned, we have department maintenance records, and we know how long it's been flying and when things like propellers might need to be changed. Then we also have a group of what I'd call just safety and flight regulations. And so it's a prohibition on using drones in any unsafe manner. We can't pilot them when weather conditions are dangerous. We can't operate them in violation of any federal, state, or local laws, which would include airspace restrictions unless we have an FAA waiver. And then the second category of prohibitions is really civil liberties protections. And so we can't use them to target or harass any individuals. We cannot record or photograph any First Amendment activity for the purpose of identifying individuals who are not involved in criminal activity. We cannot weaponize drones, and we cannot equip them with facial recognition. To effect those requirements, the special order also instituted the SOS program manager position, which is me. So this position is responsible for ensuring all SOS operations comply with policy, which includes inspecting all SOS deployments for the required documentation, verifying that the recordings, when done in accordance with policy, are complete and uploaded to evidence.com, as well as all other data is stored in accordance with policy. The program manager can also impose additional restrictions on SOS operations if we identify a safety or risk management concern. So for last year, there were 3,030 flights, and all of the department flights had 100% compliance with policy, which is outstanding. So that's broken down, as you can see above. The Drone as a First Responder program had 2,550 flights. There were about 83 on their initial pilot program hardware. And then the final solution, which is a Skydio that they're using now, had 2,467. And of those, 500 were training flights. And I raise that just because it shows that the unit has a very strong commitment to becoming proficient with the equipment that they operate and in learning the controls and developing new best practices. Similarly, with our tactical SOS cadres, and this is predominantly out of our Special Weapons and Tactics Platoon, our Hazmat section of Emergency Services Division, as well as our Major Crimes or Multidisciplinary Collision Investigation Team, they had 480 deployments supporting 41 field operations. I will note that there were 2 flights not department authorized, not done on duty. It was an individual who was a department employee using a personal drone at an off-duty event, but it had a department nexus. One of them was the heart of the LAPD walk, and the other one was a recruit graduation for custody services. Although it didn't squarely fit within the prohibitions of our policy, the department proactively issued a new reminder notice and clarifying that such activity would be prohibited in the future. So when we talk about the types of deployments, within the Drone as a First Responder, as the chief mentioned today, they're just doing amazing work supporting patrol operations. They respond to radio calls for service proactively, they respond to officer requests, and they do deploy to planned special event operations. Within the tactical SOS cadres, again, these are our SWAT platoons that respond to things such as barricaded suspects. We have bomb squad responses, we have our hazmat section, and we have our MSIT responses. So when we look at the results and effectiveness of each of those, it is clear that SOAS mitigated risks to officers, suspects, and the public. It definitely reduced the information gaps during rapidly evolving incidents. This is the information asymmetries that can elevate levels of risk, and we were to close those. And it also increased the likelihood of safely locating and apprehending suspects. Just within the SWAT platoon, they used it 33 times during their high-risk operations, including for high-risk warrant service. And it was really beneficial in providing situational awareness, including the suspect location inside of structures and whether or not the suspect might have been armed. Although SWAT has a lot of other technologies, such as ground-based robots, what we are seeing is that sometimes the suspects barricade hallways or block staircases, and we can't get ground-based robots to observe them, whereas we can with SUAS. So it's really complementing their additional technology to do that. And then our bomb squad and hazardous materials sections used SUAS 7 times for faster and more accurate assessments of suspicious items, which of course minimized the need for personnel to conduct close-range visual inspections, putting our operators in harm's way, as well as it expedited the resolution of incidents and the duration of the threats to the public. And this is really important to think about. We just had one a couple weeks ago, and it was a public transit. It was in the public transit setting. There was an underground tunnel that had a potential suspicious package, and because we were able to use SUAS, we were able to very quickly resolve that incident, understand it wasn't actually a potential explosive, and allow the commuting public to get back to their lives, to work, to school, whatever they needed to do. And so drones are really impacting the quality of service that we can provide to the public. On the DFR side, they've done, again, just phenomenal work over the past year. They've located suspects associated with stolen vehicles. They've identified individuals as being armed and providing intelligence to ground units so they could adjust their tactics. They provide enhanced situational awareness during critical incidents, so we knew if there was a barricade, and if so, was there a potential victim inside, because of course that would change our response posture. They've been able to respond to burglary calls for service and see if there was any signs of forced entry on the structure. Some of our properties are difficult for ground units to get to, especially if there's a second floor, and our drones can quickly canvass to see if there was forced entry. They've tracked our fleeing crime suspects, again, as the chief mentioned in his briefing this morning, to guide ground resources and get the additional assets that we needed. And they're really leveraging real-time dispatch information, getting the drones out to the call service as quick as possible. They're listening to our broadcast frequencies, and so they can have a drone there sometimes in under a minute, which is just extraordinary in providing that information to our responding resources. We did have 2 collisions in 2025 involving SOAS aircraft. The first occurred on November 1st, and it was a DFR drone that was deployed to support crowd control operations at a Dodgers victory parade. At the time, the drones were operating on a singular cellular network, and because the volume of people in the area was significant, it resulted in a lost link event, which is basically when the drone loses connection to the remote pilot. The data we have shows it initially tried to execute a return home procedure until it was interrupted, at which point the aircraft descended into a tree and then ultimately the sidewalk, where a participant in the celebration had stomped on the drone and discarded it into a trash can. The second collision was just a few days later on November 5th, when the DFR drone was doing a nighttime deployment in response to an officer request. The drone was under manual control and was flying near basically a high-rise building at Vermont and Wilshire, and it made contact with a protruding piece of facade from the building, which resulted in it descending and striking the sidewalk. In both of these instances, there were no injuries to any person, and there was no property damage to any third party resulting from it. The department did take post-collision action as a result of these 2, especially occurring in close proximity. And as a result, there are now implemented additional safety protocols. So there is a mandatory use of the parachute recovery system, which is independently controlled on the drone. It detects uncontrolled descent and can deploy. And then it literally just parachutes down to make soft impact, as well as defaulting to enabling all available technical assistance features. So the drones that especially DFR flies are very capable. They have collision avoidance, they have nighttime obstacle detection, they have low light visibility, and so by default, all of those are now turned on to provide the best chance of avoiding any further collisions. Additionally, with respect to the lost link event, the DFR program is now upgraded to the Fusion Plus attachment sensor, which combines the traditional radio frequency control along with 2 independent cellular networks, both of which are law enforcement priority cellular networks. Since this time, we have had no further lost link events resulting from oversaturation. And then lastly, we've been very diligent in updating the device firmware to take advantage of all of the manufacturer-driven system enhancements, which permit operating with even greater levels of certainty for obstacle detection and at the speeds we would need to respond to requests. The Special Order 4 does ask for the department's recommendations on SOS policy updates, and so we have those for you with 2 caveats. The first is there. Special Order 4 is very robust already, and it balances strong oversight and risk management with the flexibility to engage in these new operations and really leverage technology to enhance our service delivery. So these are minor, kind of around the margin updates, not substantial and not wholesale. And the second caveat is these are just the recommendations that we have for this board to consider. Any action you would take on the report today would not be adopting them. We'd want to meet with the Inspector General's office and get the language right to really make sure that we maintain the appropriate balance of oversight. With that said, the 2 recommendations are to limit the manual verification of the flight logging and video uploads to evidence.com to those flights when it's not conducted by a fully automated cloud-managed data platform. And the reason why that's significant is the volume of flights is great. It was 3,000 last year. We've already passed that this year. And the current policy technically would require me to verify every single flight has an evidence.com label applied appropriately, when we know that all the Skydio flights will have that automatically done. It's end-to-end with no user intervention, and so we can rely on that. And the second one is to consolidate reporting responsibility for critical incidents to the program manager itself. As we anticipate expanding our drone cadres, I think it's important to have a single source to make sure that we make notifications to the FAA, to the NTSB, to our vendor directly, just to ensure that all critical incidents adhere by the statutory timelines. And then it also positions us to align with the draft 108 regulations for autonomous drone operations that were issued late last year, which requires each organization to have a single point of contact as the operations supervisor to report this data. So with that said, are there any questions?
Well, that was a mouthful. So thank you for the presentation. Very thorough. You anticipated a couple of my questions, particularly around some of the post-collision actions that have been taken to remedy and identify gaps where you can fix, including like the lost link events, and also about the recommendations that adopting this report will not adopt the recommendations, but that would be something that the board can consider at a later time. And so welcome your thoughtfulness in terms of how do we balance efficiency with oversight and accountability. And so, look forward to seeing any, specific proposals to edits of the special order 4. And I have just a couple questions before I turn it over to my fellow commissioners. If you were listening to some of the public comment, there was discussion about the use of drones during the No Kings March. And you indicated earlier about, one of the requirements is that you're not recording or photographing, public First Amendment assemblies where there's no criminal activity occurring. Can you talk a little bit about how the department has used these drones during First Amendment activity?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to mention, we actually did also get that intercept report and looked into it almost immediately. And so we can use drones at First Amendment activity. What the policy prohibits is recording or photographing participants who are not involved in criminal activity for the means of identifying them. But they have a legitimate public safety basis to be used there. So consistent with our crowd control intervention and management techniques, we do crowd assessment sizes. We want to make sure that the protesters stay safe. So if they're spilling into a neighboring street and we need to do a street closure to keep them safe, we need to know that. The incident commander needs to know that, and then they can redivert resources. On the No Kings March, there were, I believe, 3 drone flights that were done purely for crowd assessment purposes. Verified, none of those 3 had any recordings done. Those were between the 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock hour. The very first flight that had a recording was to identify an individual suspect in the crowd who was throwing items at passing vehicles and at officers. I think it's very important that we talk about the fact that drones will be present at special events, but they're not used to discourage First Amendment purposes. And then I think the equally important part about at least the DFR policy is that they're very transparent with their flights. We have the transparency dashboard. We publish all of our flights. And so I think we welcome this scrutiny to make sure that we are using this technology appropriately. And in every instance, we're going to verify that we are.
And I think, it's one thing to read it in a report and hear about some of the very effective uses of the drones to, help with kind of like real life emergencies that are unfolding. Has the department kind of started to create almost a audio visual of that to show the community so that they understand how it's being used and, when it's been used effectively?
Yeah, great question. So I think that's definitely on our radar. One of the things we want to balance is that in almost all these, I'd say, really good instances, there's also a criminal case component on the back end. And we want to be careful not to jeopardize any of the criminal investigation components to it. But I do know that I'm talking to my DFR partners as well as our people within OSO deploying them. And we're definitely keeping track of the incidents where that would be a very good visual to kind of provide that show and tell so they can see the value in public safety operations.
And it's good to be mindful of not only ongoing criminal investigations, but privacy considerations of not wanting to showcase, potential victims of crimes and things like that. So mindful of that. But I think we live in a world where we are much more visual beings. And so being able to see some of these things unfold and understand, even the example you gave about a known package that, I'm sure that ended up relieving a lot of officer time. And so there could be real cost savings in terms of how much, officer overtime is reduced or things of that nature. And with the drone as a first responder, are there also times in which the drone is being arrives first and is able to actually clear the scene, meaning there is no need to send additional officers because there is no, whatever is being reported is not present.
Yeah, exactly. So the last time we checked, it was about 10% of all the calls could be handled by the DFR arriving first on scene. And I do know they just started tracking even some of the ways they're resolving it. And so, for example, the Circle program. There are some calls when we, encounter someone experiencing, homelessness and maybe a compounded mental health crisis, and we're able to cancel off a responding unit and get them actually, the social worker or the help that they might actually need, as opposed to potentially escalating it with an armed officer present. And so, yes, it's definitely saving patrol resources, truly leveraging technology, and supporting some of our other call diversion strategies we already have in effect.
That's terrific because, again, we hear about the shortages of officers and, our 911 dispatchers are going call after call after call. And so if they actually have a car that's able to be routed to an emergency that hasn't been cleared, as opposed to wasting their time going to something that there is no ongoing activity, I think that helps public safety altogether. So thank you. Very interesting update. And I will turn it over to my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Garcia.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for the report and the update. Just questions around the auto parachute and the recovery process. What does that look like, the auto parachute, and does it function even if it loses the cellular contact? And then two, what does the actual recovery process look like, or protocol post?
Great question. Yeah, so taking the first one, so it runs on an independent control board. It detects a descent other than being piloted, so it will work in the remote lost link events. It also has additional redundancies on the actual, basically it runs its own mini computer. So even if the main one goes down, it will have a backup to understand it needs to deploy itself. As far as the recovery process, right now it's dispatched as a Code 3 response. The divisional unit in which it occurred will respond and secure the drone for evidence, as well as to understand what happened for our investigation and crash reporting procedures. And then if it were to ever make contact with a person or property, hopefully not, but if it were to happen, then they will begin to execute the procedures to render aid, to complete an injury report, and to document all the things we would need on the back end.
Okay. And is there something, like in the case where someone threw it in the trash can, you mentioned, is there a message that is visible that the community can, call a phone number or do something about it other than throw it in the trash can?
Yeah. So in that instance, we were there basically as fast as we could. It just, the individual on the sidewalk happened to beat us to it because it, was beside them. But because we arrived, within probably less than a minute of that, that's obviously when we were able to recover from the trash. They are identifiable as police drones. They are equipped with the police colored lights, so red and blue. It was clearly known as a police drone. It was just an act of sabotage.
Okay. Now regarding the Fusion Plus, so you mentioned that there was, prior to the Fusion Plus, a loss of contact because of the population using cell phone service in that concentrated area. Has the Fusion Plus been stress tested in a real life situation, or is it just expected to work at this point?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it has. It's been deployed out to a lot of other high population density incidents, many of them in downtown, and it's performed incredibly well. I will say that we also have data, more additional data since that occurred, and obviously data can inform better decisions. And so we're not relying on one vendor or a set of two vendors for each drone. Depending on where they're located, we might use T-Priority WPS, we might use AT&T's FirstNet, we might use Verizon Frontline. Depending on where that drone will be deployed and the networks that we know are performing best in that area, we'll equip the drone with the appropriate SIM cards so that we have the optimal performance.
Okay. And then in terms of like the number of flights and the type of incidents that the drone has been used in, is there a way to calculate or estimate the number of officer hours that are saved and even translate that into dollars ultimately saved because of the drone response and use?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that I think we've been trying to quantify for a little while, and it's kind of difficult just because of the variable nature of each incident. I do know that the DFR team is still working on trying to come up with that calculation, and so anything I can help them to do to come up with a way to provide that cost savings estimate, I think we'll continue to do and get before you.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Scobin.
Thank you. So my questions were asked and answered. I appreciate that. A few months back, we approved expansion of the drone program through a grant with Skidio. Can you give an update on where we're at on that?
Yes. So that grant, I believe, was just approved by City Council. And so they're currently doing the required technical work to make sure that expansion can go live. Many of our stations have rooftops that didn't currently have adequate power supplies or internet connectivity. And so as we expand out to those 17 docks and 24 drones, there was some technical work that had to be done in the facilities, as well as receiving approval to purchase equipment itself. So I believe that the DFR program is targeting in the very near future to have that be onboarded as some of the technical and building requirements are being addressed.
Thank you. On that, I recently read an article in a law enforcement magazine on drones. And, when we had the presentation earlier, it was represented that the department had looked at various drone companies and ultimately, decided on Skidio. I'm curious, the article referenced a company called Brink, which appeared to have some unique technology that either is not available on Skidio or maybe wasn't talked about that seemed relevant to me. One had to do with distance of flight. More than double the amount of distance in flight. Also some unique recharging capabilities that would get the drone back up in the air in under 2 minutes versus, possibly even up to an hour. Can you speak on any of those technology differences and why we ultimately feel that Skidio is still the right vendor?
Yeah, absolutely. So with respect to Skidio and Brink, I think they have right now a set of technology trade-offs. So one of the things that we lean very heavily into is the ability to have a parachute system from day one and to have that Fusion Plus attachment and some other features that the Skidio platform provided. I will say that we're not done with the drone program, and so we're consistently evaluating all the technology that's out there. Within the Office of Special Operations, we have a lot of legacy DJI equipment that is one of our top priorities to try and replace with some American-made drone equipment that we can have greater understanding and controls over for information security purposes. And so we're evaluating what's out there in that aspect. We also know that tethered drones are becoming very popular in public safety organizations for large special events. And with LA28 on the horizon and potentially even FIFA, there's a company called PhotoKite that has a tethered drone that basically has all-day flight time and no concern about lost link because it's literally connected by a cable. And so we're evaluating all of that. I will say we have a pretty comprehensive, at least right now, fleet development and replacement strategy with what's currently on the market. And both the DFR program and then our OSO folks, as well as MSIT and FID, are all a part of that to try and make sure that we can get every entity on the department the equipment that they need to operate it. So all this to say, yes, there's some very exciting new emerging abilities and technology. And we do look at all of it. And then for us, it's just the trade-offs on what is most important to the organization. And right now it's provided by Skidio.
It's exciting when you see kind of an emerging technology, the positive uses, the early indicators that it is a tool that is extremely beneficial and helping us become better at what we do. Also, equally as important is to make sure that we're following our policy and doing things appropriately so that it's a tool that we don't ever lose. So appreciate your leadership on it. Also appreciate the need that reality is with technology is things change and who we think is the leader today might not be the leader tomorrow. And so continuing to maintain as much agnostic ability as possible to be open to going with new leaders in the industry are important. So appreciate you staying on top of that and looking forward to working together more in the future.
Thank you. Vice President Tabor.
Thank you. I want to go back to... Yes, there we go. I think I'm having a conversation. I do need to record this one. I want to go back to the transition to the now police van radio. What was, and as a result of losing connection, does the new system, the new band that we're using now, does it give us a broader area of utilization for the vehicles? I understand, or at least I thought in an earlier presentation, there was some parts of the city that, because of the either topography or the technology, that we weren't able to use the vehicles to access. Are we now able to expand that? And
Yeah, great question. So with respect to the connectivity part, I think we've pretty much solved that problem, and almost all the city will be accessible through the connectivity component part of it. There remains two limiting other factors, one of which is the range. So based on where we're putting the drone docks or potentially a mobile deployment, we are still limited to about the 2.5 to 3 mile comfortable radius to have usable flight time at the location. And the second limiting part is airspace restrictions. So obviously we have 8 airports that all have airspace restrictions we have to deal with, the largest being, of course, LAX, Van Nuys, and Burbank. And so we need to work around the airspace restrictions to make sure that we can get our drone in safely and not interfere with passenger aircraft.
Right. So, which actually you sort of led me to the next question. Given the other airports in the area, closing of Santa Monica creates an opportunity, but I'm thinking of Hawthorne and Compton and the other airports that still are in the area. We have the same FAA regulation with terms of operation in those areas as we do with LAX or Van Nuys, or is it different because they're municipal airports not in our area?
Yeah, so without getting too technical, LAX is the Class B airspace, which is the most restricted, and the other ones are generally Class C airspace. We are working with the FAA to get us access into more of those areas, especially within South Bureau, to supplement our aerial operations that have been impacted as a result of the Class B quieting of rotorcraft. So we're absolutely working to try and get drones into more of those places. There's very little impacts, if any, from the Hawthorne airspace. It's predominantly LAX for our South Bureau and West Side divisions, as well as the impacts to Valley from both Van Nuys Airport and Burbank Airport for North Hollywood.
Has the training that is described in the presentation with Metro SWAT units, has that been in person, or is that also sort of managed outside of the deployment of SWAT when they're training in the academy or on the course? Are the drone pilots also participating in that training so there's an alignment of strategy and alignment?
Yes, great question. And it's both. So the initial training is in person. It's generally just a dedicated block of days to proficiency. And then both with Hazmat and Bomb Squad and SWAT, it's incorporated into their reoccurring trainings. And so they usually do it on like Fridays. And so it's either every Friday or every other Friday. They implement it with the entire platoon. So it's seamless into their operations and they all understand the capabilities and limitations.
Thank you. And final question for me, are all of our units or SUAS units the same vehicle, or do we have different sizes, different those with different other technologies, or are we thinking about that in the future?
Yeah, exactly. So on DFR, they're all using the Skydio X10 drones. All of the other drone fleets are a mix of technologies. It's predominantly DJI. There's a couple Parrot vendors. And then within DJI, we have the very large platform like Enterprise M30Ts, which are bigger drones, all the way down to the Air 3Ss, which are substantially smaller and more suitable to like up close entry. That is part of what I'd call the fleet rationalization process that we're working on doing to make sure what is the best equipment to suit every particular need, and then ensuring that we can get that equipment.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Sanchez-Gordon.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your very comprehensive report, and pretty much all the questions I have been answered, and thank you. Excuse me, but I do want to kind of circle back to the policy compliance language and the clear prohibitions governing the use of the drones. And specifically, I want to talk about, excuse me, the use, one of the bullet points here is to be used to record or photograph First Amendment assemblies for the purpose of identifying participants who are not engaged in unlawful conduct. So my first question is, does that mean that unless someone is in the commission of a crime or under criminal investigation for the commission of a crime, the officers are not interested in recording someone?
That's correct, yes. The use of a drone at a First Amendment activity without a crime present is merely just to have crowd awareness, crowd behavior assessments, and crowd size assessments. We're not interested in recording or filming, my face to try and later identify me. That's correct.
Okay. Would you acknowledge that there are concerns by the community, concerns regarding privacy issues and whether the drones are used to record activity for the purpose of identifying participants?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a community concern that we're trying very hard to address. We're doing that in large part through our transparency dashboard, where they can see all of the flights, and then they can know when we're flying and why we're flying.
But this would be limited to identifying participants who are not engaged? I mean, do you have that? People that are not engaged in unlawful conduct?
Yeah, so I think certainly at any gathering, we have the vast majority of people are usually not involved in unlawful conduct, and that's why the drone isn't photographing or recording them. To the extent it does a flyover among those people, it's just to gauge the size of the crowd. Very much the same way that we have been doing for a long time with our airships or on-ground assets or other elevated perspectives. Crowd size assessments are not necessarily the new part of our tactics or strategy. It's just that now we can use potentially cheaper, quieter technology to do it.
What other concerns have you come across that have been expressed by the public in the use of drones at First Amendment activities, if any?
Yeah, so I mean, I can't say that I've had any specific concerns other than privacy considerations at the First Amendment activity. I do know that drones are not just operated by us. There are a lot of public drones that are sometimes present in these operations, and sometimes they're flying below altitudes that we would deem safe or over extended periods of time over people. Again, things that we would not do because we don't deem them safe. And I think that there's some potential the public could confuse public acting drones by the members of the public themselves as ours and attribute that to us. So I think that's a very real concern. But I generally, the feedback has been incredibly positive from our drone program, just in what we can do for the community with it.
So this annual report started in July and it ended in December of 2025?
Correct.
So what does the annual report for 2026 begin to look like? What shape is it taking? Because since January, we've had a major demonstration, and then again in March, we've had another major demonstration. And I'm just really focusing right now on First Amendment activity. And, even today, we heard a lot about, I think there were 5 protests within a 2-week period. So, what have you learned from the 2025 annual report that maybe you want to tweak for the 2026 report? And I'm also thinking maybe we don't wait till December to get the 2026 annual report because of all the activity on First Amendment activities that are going on in the city. And I would be interested to find out, how's it going? How are these drones working? Are there complaints? Are there concerns? Is everything hunky-dory? I mean, are we doing what we want to do with these drones? So I would suggest, Madam President, that maybe at the end of June we get some kind of some report, half a year report on the use of the drones in our city as it pertains to First Amendment activities.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that the department can provide. And it is also my understanding that the DFR program is going to have another report back to you in the coming months as well, to talk about their expansion program that you approved a few months ago. And since the DFR program is predominantly the entity that is supporting the First Amendment activities and the gatherings, that's perhaps something that they can include in their report at that time.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. And you mentioned kind of the proliferation of public drones or people using their personal drones at all kinds of events. And that to me raises the additional concern. I know this report is about the use of the department's drones. But again, thinking forward as to mitigation risk and, keeping people safe. I'm hopeful that we will be hearing about the department's, counter drone, technology. I think we had previously approved certain technology, but we are going to evaluate a, proposed policy on that. Is that going to be coming to the commission soon?
Yes, I believe it should be coming next month ahead of FIFA. And as you said, yes, it is not only a threat to the community, but it also does impact our use of drones. One of the things that we like to do to ensure a fully safe operation is know what environment we're flying into. And so the same equipment we can use to counter threats from public drones, we can also use to better inform our pilots on the airspace that they're operating in.
Thank you. I look forward to that presentation and understanding of exactly. I do think that this is going to be a significant threat moving forward, and I'm glad that the department is taking proactive steps to address it. And I think we are lucky to have you in this role, given the amount of time you've spent on this and really getting the expertise necessary for the department to move forward in this new area. So thank you so much for the report. And with that, unless any other commissioner has any questions, I would move that we accept and approve the department's report. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you so much. And at this time, I will recall item 4B and invite Commander Goddard. And back to you, Commissioner Scobin.
Good afternoon, officially afternoon. My questions stem with, some of us aren't as familiar with this program. And when you look at the breakdown of the dollars and how they're being spent, you have $2.7 million for data integration, analytics, $3.4 million for ALPR readers. So, where my questions are going to lie, specifically on ALPRs to determine who we're using, what level of contracts do we have with them, who owns the data, et cetera. And as it relates to the data integration, what information can you share on that, the who, what, where, when?
Yeah, so the good thing about this particular item 4B that's in front of you is just to extend something that was already approved by the Board of Police Commissioners and City Council. This gives us more time to do the research that you're talking about, because if we don't get this extension, we'd have to spend all the monies by the end of this calendar year. So let's start with the LPR. So when it was accepted by the Board of Police Commissioners and the City Council gave authorization to the Chief of Police and the City Attorney that once we do find what that ALPR vendor is, to go ahead and enter into a contract with that vendor without having to go through council again. We're still in that research phase of what is the best ALPR vendor that really covers the city's terms and conditions as it relates to data ownership, data sharing, data security, all of those things that we really want. So I'll take Flock as an example. Right now, the City Attorney's Office, in some discussions with the City Attorney, looking at, do we want an MOA, a Memorandum of Agreement with Flock, or do we want an actual city contract equaling $1 that would not procure any equipment, but would have very set terms and conditions to keep the city and the department safe with regards to those questions that you have. Who owns the data, data security? Can they share the data with other agencies? So right now, the City Attorney's Office is working on that $1 contract with Flock. There'll be some red lines that go back and forth, but I can tell you absolutely from the department's perspective, we will not accept that contract unless it has the language in the terms and conditions that is agreeable to the department, that's in the best interest of the department, that it's the department's data, and that they cannot share the data, look at the data, analyze the data, do anything with the data without written permission from the department. Recently, I went to Major City Chiefs Association Technology Committee in New Orleans 2 weeks ago. This was item 1 on our agenda about this very issue, because it's not just here in Los Angeles. This issue is on the minds of agencies across the United States. We came up as a group with some best terms and conditions that we're going to start putting in all of our contracts. That was supplied to the city attorney's office and is going to be incorporated into this $1 contract, which also will come before this commission. Because any contract has to go before this commission before it's transmitted across the street to the mayor's office. So we will obviously, before it comes here, I would like to work with the president and you, Commissioner Scobin, as far as the technology executive committee, to take a look at that contract to see if there's anything else that, from your perspective, it's missing. And then once we have it to the liking of the executive committee, we can bring it back to the full board for approval to submission to the mayor's office. Second part of the question was regarding the data integration. This is Peregrine, and I've been before this board over the last few years many times, especially when we're going off of our mainframe, 1980s mainframe, to our new records management system. If you recall, Commissioner, that was Peregrine being the solution that gave us the ability to do crime analysis. When we got off our mainframe system, all of the computer-aided dispatch mapping systems, CAMs, what it was called, all of that went away. So we're kind of shooting from the dark for a little while until we were able to get Peregrine up and running. And Peregrine is taking all of our new RMS data, is taking all of our historical crime consolidated CCAD data, so that we can do crime analysis. We can see where crime's happening. We can deploy resources and strategies where appropriate to reduce the burglary problem in the valley or to reduce the robbery problem in this. Peregrine is that solution. It brings all of our data points into one frame, and it doesn't create any new data. That's not what Peregrine is. So that's what that other $2.7 million that you mentioned is for Peregrine. Unfortunately, when this grant was accepted, the way the state of California makes the rules is at the term of the grant, you can't have a contract that extends beyond the grant, which I didn't really understand. If we're paying the money, what does it matter if I have a 5-year or 10-year grant? But that's the way the state had it. So what this now gives us the ability to do is to extend the contract with Peregrine for another year.
Thank you for the clarification. Also, just out of curiosity on the ALPRs, is the intention on that purchase to be fixed location cameras?
Yes, so the monies that are allocated in this particular grant, the intention is to be fixed ALPR cameras. We just don't know what vendor quite meets the needs yet.
Great. Hopefully that due diligence is really going on right now, because it'll be important to identify what partner is going to work under our terms to ensure, the concerns that our public has, with data privacy, et cetera. The irony is, like we've discussed, we're aligned, our interests are aligned on this. The department does not use this technology for anything other than solving crimes. And I think we just need to memorialize those relationships and those agreements in place to hopefully gain, the public's trust in that. So thank you for providing that clarity.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Scobin, for those questions. Do any other commissioners have any questions on this point? Oh, Commissioner Garcia?
A quick clarifying question. So the extension that's being requested is for June 1st of 2028. However, the Peregrine Technologies contract only to December 31st of 27?
Yeah, so the last 6 months of the grant is actually for the auditing purposes and all the reports that we have to provide to the state of California, but the actual spend will stop in December of 2027.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No questions.
No. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And thank you, Commander Goddard, for coming to answer these questions. With that, I move that we approve item 4B and take the recommended board action. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. And with that, the commission will now recess into closed sessions to discuss items 6A1 through A3. Thank you. Okay, the commission has returned from closed session, and I'll ask Madam Secretary to please report on the closed session items.
Thank you, Madam President. As it relates to item 6A1, officer-involved shooting 018-255, the Commission discussed and adopted the recommendations of the Chief of Police as follows by a 5-0 vote. For tactics, tactical debrief 4, police officers 2, drawing and exhibiting in policy, no further action 4, police officers 2, intermediate use of force in policy, no further action 1, police officer 2, and for lethal use of force in policy, no further action 2, police officer 2. As it relates to item 6A2, in custody death 020-25, the Commission on a 5-0 vote adopted the recommendations of the Chief of Police as follows. For tactics, tactical debrief 3, police officers 3, 3 police officers 2, and 1 police officer 1. For non-lethal use of force in policy, no further action 3 police officers 3, 3 police officers 2, and 1 police officer 1. And finally, as it relates to item 6A3, officer-involved shooting 021-25, the Commission adopted the recommendations of the Chief of Police as follows by a 5-0 vote. For tactics, tactical debrief 1 Sergeant 1, 1 police officer 3, and administrative disapproval 1 police officer 2. For drawing and exhibiting in policy, no further action 1 police officer 3, and 1 police officer 2. For lethal use of force in policy, no further action 1 police officer 2. And that concludes the closed session readout. Madam President?
Thank you. I move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.